It is time for the last quarterfinal of the day. Put your hands together for your reigning champs, the Atlantis Leviathans. Welcome back onto the stage, their opponents, the Tartarus Titans.
And welcome back to the analyst desk here at the SWC Season 9 World Championship here for SMITE. I'm excited for it. I got Hurry, Trelly on the desk. My name is Gormizer, and this one is going to be a fun one. We have ahead of us right now a rematch of last year's finals, a 3-0 that happened last year. The Leviathans were able to win. Zapman put a third ring on his finger. Of course, if we look at the bracket, you can see exactly where their path is going to go. Winner of this one finds themselves against the Dragons. At this point, I don't even think I can say that, oh, do you consider that a prize? 'Cause there's not a single team that came into the bracket today that is going to give you an easy time. And we are continuing on that route. Kings and Bolts are going to kick things off tomorrow. And we'll find the last semi-finalist just a few minutes from now. And Hurry, this one, it just feels like it's got a lot of energy around it, right? We've seen this rematch a few times. We got to see it at a couple of the Summer Masters, I think the Spring Masters that actually ended up happening. And the Leviathans typically coming out ahead, but there's a lot that can go on behind the scenes for this one. A lot that can still change.
Yes. I mean, I think it's a great last set for today as well, because we've got two top caliber teams playing against each other. You know, they've kind of come on their own unique paths to get here. For these two, what we would consider to be top teams playing so early in the quarterfinals. But I think that they've got it both a lot to prove today. I think it is going to be a hard bracket, as you mentioned. Whoever wins has to play against the Dragons. So it's certainly not an easy path just starting with this quarterfinals for either of these teams. But I'm guessing, just knowing these players, they wouldn't have it any other way.
Excitement, right? I mean, the Leviathans actually literally chose this as their matchup. So the Titans are going to have to deal with that one the old-fashioned way. But Trelly, what we're talking about here and what we are looking at is legacy. And it is a legacy that is created and has been unfolding in front of our eyes. It has been Zapman himself. It feels like first time, absolutely insane. Second time, wild to imagine the team being able to kind of put themselves up and be on the back-to-back. To then go for a third world champion run, get a third ring on your finger, and come back again with a majority of the same team, right? You pick up Haddix here instead of Hardcore. You have to imagine there's some confidence in Zapman building this legacy, becoming what has to be known as one of the best SMITE players who's touched the game.
Yeah, I mean, when we were in waiting room for the qualifiers, or I guess at the end of that tournament, it became very clear to me that you can't bet against Zapman, not when you're on the world stage. It was for a while, it was, hey, is it Paul or is it Zapman? Who's the one who gets that passive?
Yeah.
Zap proved last year it was him. Now it's time for Paul to take that away. Is it possible? For sure. I mean, we've seen the Tartarus Titans look like the best team in the world at times, but more recently and more consistently, the Leviathans have been showing us exactly why they feel they're the best team in the world.
And if they can keep going, the amount of pressure, I mean, they went on one of the longest win streaks we've ever seen throughout Phase 3. You're talking about a team that very consistently has just had excellence since their roster change. Only coming up a little short there in the Phase 3 playoffs. And you talk about veteranship at this point, right? You look at some of these guys and the Panitoms, you look at the Rongyus, your Sheentos. They've been around the league for a little while. But now getting to be able to play in front of a crowd again and to have the leadership that Zapman brings to the table, someone who's been around, done it a lot, feels like this is one of those moments, again, if you're looking at legacy, you're looking at history for SMITE. Zap's name's got to be on the forefront. Leviathan's got to be on your mind as the reigning champs. We've got Zapman on the stage, standing by with Kelly for an interview.
Thank you so much, Gormizer. Joining me here, the one and only Zapman, three-time champ, And to some people, that might put a little pressure on them. Do you feel like that's the case for you?
No, I'm just grateful to be playing every single year, and I just take each year as it comes, and we'll see what happens.
Well, if we look at the years and we look at the history, this isn't the first time that you guys have been going up against Tartarus Titans. You actually won against them 3-0 last year in the finals. How are you feeling about that?
I feel confident. I mean, we had the choice to pick them, and we picked them, I guess, what people thought was kind of early to pick them, but we've always matched up well against them, so.
And since I'm bringing up history, I'm going to bring up some ancient history right now, because I remember watching and working on a show with you 10 years ago at PAX, back when you were on a team called Root Gaming. What is it like to still be such a figurehead in a game for over a decade now?
It's just an honor and a blessing. You know, every year I get to play. I know I'm getting old now, you know. I don't know which year is going to be my last, and I just take each year, and I'm grateful for each year, and hopefully we can keep going.
I know the SMITE community is grateful to have you too, Zapman. Thank you so much, and good luck into your game. Guys, give it up for Zap. And let's head back on to the desk.
Just the way he words it, right? They're coming in. They know they have a good matchup into this. He knows that his legacy has been kind of cemented. Admittedly, it's wilder to think when Kelly puts in the words that it's been 10 years for him to be able to perform from PAX when SMITE's first kind of getting unveiled. Even before the launch tournament, before we had Season 1 and the SBL as we know it proper. And yet Zapman's been there the whole time, and he's been running the show, and it's surprising that it took till Season 6 for him to get the ring. Then Season 7, Season 8, he just keeps adding to them. And I think his exact quote was, "I'm going to keep playing till I suck." So we'll see how long that lasts. As he said, he doesn't know when his last year is going to be. And last year we were hyping it up. You know, you talk about the 3-time now, last year, this time around. It's just the 2-time still. Didn't have too much going for them, was trying to find their way to the finals. Found themselves up against the Tartarus Titans, against another 2-time, a former teammate in Paul. And it was a huge deal to see what these two were going to go about it. If you go back, you watch Season 6 highlights, but definitely watch Season 7 highlights, Hurry. Paul is the guy you are talking about. And Aggro, in one of those casts, says it, is Paul's just better. And sometimes that's the Paul you've been getting, but it feels like for the last couple of months, we haven't seen that world champion Paul just yet.
And I think that's a really good point to make, Gore. Ultimately, this team did have a roster change not too long ago in the grand scheme of things, picking up Cyno. I do think Cyno is kind of more of a carry-style jungler, Paul's more of a carry-style mid. I think they've come a long way in terms of melding their playstyles together. I think they're still really trying to find an identity, and perhaps they have in this offseason. I think that if you're a Titans fan, that's what you're hoping to see. You're hoping to see them come out with this identity that fits both their new jungler and your powerhouse mid laner in Paul. And I think there's a very good chance that they may have found that. They found this set, I think, as well in the qualifier tournament that looked really good for them, especially this Vulcan as well, which we're seeing highlights of now. Just, you've seen a lot of success with the Paul's God Pool as it stands right now. And I think Cyno maybe had some hiccups along the way. We saw some things like Chalk, but we also saw some really successful things like Nemesis, which now we see other teams picking up too. So I think they've done a good job to cement themselves a new identity. And I think, once again, if you're a Titans fan, you're hoping that's the team that shows up today to play the Leviathans.
And you touch on a couple of things, Trelly, specifically, and when you look at picks and bans for this team, and as Harry has mentioned, if you try to just zap the lightning rod that is Paul and ban 5 gods from him, he's got more. He just keeps on going. It feels like it's almost impossible to cut him off. I'll get your thoughts on that as we do jump into picks and bans a little later. Now, we're going to hear from Paul himself. He's up on the stage with Kelly.
Paul, we've already seen the success of your team at tournaments, winning the spring season, or the spring tournament that you guys had right there. What is the difference between playing inside the studio compared to playing in front of a live audience like this?
I feel like some people get like nervous a little bit in front of like a crowd, and it's a lot different from being in like the actual studio because it's just the whole crowd factor really. So also just like the lights and stuff. This stage is like super fancy.
Now, one of the newer pickups you guys have is your coach, Slaney. How has that been working out for you guys?
Oh, Slaney's dude, every scrim he would like post like 6 clips of like what we did wrong and stuff, and so he's like ultra committed, so it's been nice.
And hopefully that's going to be helping you guys out because as I talked to Zapman, this is a rematch of the last Worlds. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we have like, what is it, like 2 or 3 different players now or something? I don't know, something like that. I can't really think. But so I don't know. We'll see what happens now. You know.
Good luck going into your game, Paul, and thank you so much. Everyone, make some noise for Paul right here. And let's head back to the desk.
If you've ever been wondering how Paul's feeling, he's just gaming.
Yep.
That's what's about to happen. That's what he's always been doing.
Every day.
And that's what I'm coming to expect. I think his point, though, at the very end there is very good point to kind of to land on. You look at the team that we saw last year in the finals, and you've got Aror, and you've got Paul. And then you change your solo laner coming into this year. You've now got a new jungler, as you mentioned, from about a month ago that they picked up. And then you got Stu halfway through the phase alongside Slaney. It has been a very dramatic change for this team, especially over the last few months. And yet that confidence, you know, listening to how committed Slaney is, mentioning like, hey, here's where we can improve, here are the things that we need to change. It kind of showcases to me, Hurry, that the team has been doing nothing but grinding to try to get to this point and showcase what they have to offer.
This team definitely thinks that they're going to win. And I think that's something that's always going to be a positive that's going for them. With Aurora and Paul, they kind of just ooze confidence, and you have to imagine that bleeds over to the rest of the team. You have someone who's maybe more of a rookie in Stu as a newer player. Cyno, previous world champion, not worried about him. And then Sot, I'm not sure if he's ever played in front of a crowd either. So you've kind of got some rookies, but I have to imagine having someone like Paul on your team really gives you a lot of confidence before you even step foot in the game. And I know Aurora, it's like losing is not even an option in his head. It's not something he considers, and that definitely goes a long way as a player on one of those teams.
Especially considering, and you know, when it comes to Aurora, the mindset and the mentality he has as a player, but more so the knowledge base behind it. I mean, he can tell you right now, depending on how this picks and bans end up going, the last time like a draft like that was seen, when he played against it, how that game went. And it'll have happened 5 years ago in a scrim. And it's like, why do you know that little detail? Why do you remember it? And it's just, he just completely absorbs it, Trelly. And it feels like, you know, you're talking confidence from Hurry. You get Paul, who will literally just tell you he's just gaming, or at least that's all he says to me half the time. And then on top of that, you get someone like Aurora who's going to be able to use that information base to really help elevate the team. You got Slaney behind him. It feels like they've really put themselves into given the ingredients to make a recipe for success.
Yeah, looking at a relatively young team, you got to look towards your tenure, and that's Aurora and Paul. So when you look in your corner and see those guys backing you up, that's got to give you that level of confidence. You know that Paul can just hard carry a game away if he's given just a little bit of space. Aurora has been shot calling for such a long time. He knows when to fight, when not to fight, how to set up for his team, when to get aggressive, all those things that, you know, a newer player doesn't exactly know. It's got something they feel out. Just having that being able to told to you, and also being able to group up with a team like this that has been around for quite some time, at least the name, I imagine a lot of confidence coming from the Tartarus Titans. And I want to touch on what Hurrywin said. This team believes they're going to win.
Yeah.
They think they're going to win, and that can carry you a long way as well.
Manifest your own destiny, right? Like, that is exactly what they're trying to do. Believe it hard enough, will it into existence. We'll see what they're able to do. This team, though, and specifically, right there, left side of the middle of the screen, Haddix is the one I have my eyes on. Sot on the other side. I mean, 2 laners that have done phenomenal things. Haddix in the regular season has just been a machine to try and go up against. Sot last year's Worlds was one of the biggest players, impact, even in their loss. He looked really good. I feel like that matchup, you know, you want to talk about tenure, you want to talk about experience, but you got 2 guys that are coming in. Haddix, last time he played on a LAN environment was with this team, majority of them, plus Zap. It feels like it's just kind of a repeat, right? If you're looking for success, it's going back to their roots.
Yeah, I think the core of the Leviathans has stayed together and seen a lot of success. That being said, their roster changes have been probably some of the most successful roster changes we've seen in SMITE history. They definitely know what they want, and they're definitely good at picking out players that are going to help their team. Obviously picking up Zapman last year and having a dominating performance in the World's Finals 3-0. And then ever since they picked up Haddix, as you've said, they've just looked better. They look like they have more direction. They look like they have more energy. He has what they need. Obviously, Haddix, Zapman, both individually great players. But what they bring to a team, it just goes beyond what you see when they're playing in game.
And being able to, it's always interesting actually looking at it, because like you said, it's the core, that mid 3v3 that is stuck together, that plays so well together. I mean, I cannot imagine a world where Ronngyu is playing with anyone that's not Sheento and Panitom beside him, right? That is what makes, in my mind, the Leviathans. But having Zap, like you said, for leadership and shot calling, which is the one that floors me the most because, and Hurry, you can speak to this from experience, but you're not seeing a lot of the map when you're playing as a carry. Supports, they're all over the place. Your junglers, they're all over the place. Shot calling for Zapman is a very impressive thing to add on to it. And a lot of it is just because, as mentioned in the interview, he's got so much experience playing Smite that he is in the perfect mindset to tell you the scenarios that you need to read.
Yeah, the one thing about hunters that I think people seem to forget is they're really the backbone in a lot of ways. They're kind of the battery of your team. You need them to be alive to do objectives. When they're feeling confident, it's the role that when they're confident, the whole team feels confident. If my ADC tells me I'm really strong, I can kill anyone, just put someone in front of me, CC them, we'll win the team fight, keep me alive. That's probably the most important person for me, no matter what role I'm playing, to give me confidence. And Zapman, he, like you said, and like we've talked about countless times before, he has that tenure. He's very calm under pressure. You even heard just in his interview, he's not necessarily worried he's coming, he's just gonna do what he always does. And for the last few years, that's been winning world championships.
And that maybe is the scariest thing to think about. If he's like, I'm just, just another day in the office, gonna step up. Worlds is always the time that it runs up. Trelly, one thing that we talked about over the last couple of years has been a big deal for them. As we jump into picks and bans here in a relatively short amount, it has been the run into Worlds for this team. And more specifically here, the lack thereof. So we jump into picks and bans for game number 1 of the final quarterfinal of the day. Leviathan's first pick as they take on and rematch the Tartarus Titans in this best of 3. Trelly, the point I'm trying to say, this is the first time we've seen Zap making a run for the World Championship where he hasn't had that qualifier stage, where he hasn't had to play into the event. He qualified over a month ago, and now it's going to be time to showcase whether or not that matters for him.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Tartarus Titans had to expect this, the Naja being taken away from Cyno, that's step 1. The Nemesis could be there to follow, or the Leviathans could just say, hey, we've seen the Nem, not too worried about that. We're just going to focus on the Naja, and it's actually going to be the Pele taken away from Cyno, or also Paul in the mid lane. Both have been played a few times. Paul has so many different mid lane picks, and assassin bans could look like jungle bans, but you always got to be looking out for what Paul does take into that mid lane. Either way, I imagine Leviathans have a few different routes they could play here. Most of these teams have been playing through carry, trying to focus out Cern or Ishtar. Zap doesn't love first picking his pick if he can, go against it. The Vulcan for Sheento, for example, has been something Leviathans have loved to lean on. It's a good flex pick. You can say, hey, we're just going for good objective damage. We're going for good burst damage. We don't have to worry about anything else. There's not too many counters available. Could be something they're looking towards.
Really excited to see what kind of picks make it through here. The Morrigan getting banned away alongside the Cthulhu. Combo Cthulhu lately, at least the last time we got to see them, the Leviathans were really readily going to that pick. Paired with the Morrigan, actually granted teams like the Oni Warriors a lot of success throughout the year. The Morrigan feels like one of those bans, though. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of it on the screen at all today. But Hurry, I mean, when it comes to Sheento, when it comes to Paul, like those are 2 of the best Morrigan players that you're going to see. It feels like that ban, while it affects the Titans, is almost necessary for one of these teams to be able to find success.
Yeah, the Morrigan is a land pick. It is a nightmare when it gets out of control. It's hard to track. With everything going on, you feel very overwhelmed. You lose track first. You can win you team fights. I think it's great to take it away. I'm surprised the Titans are the ones to take it away, but maybe they know something we don't. Yeah. Leviathan's actually going to offer a first pick set, which I think is smart, taking that away from Paul, because that has been a problem pick for him in the past. I, however, didn't know they had a set player, or someone who's going to play set mid. I expect this to go mid. That's where we typically see it. I'd be really surprised if it goes somewhere else. It's really hard to say because, once again, I'm really surprised by the pick in general, but I think it makes sense to take it away.
Especially, you look at the other side, it feels like Cyno, Paul, like if you told me one of them was going to be bringing in a set, I'm not blinking at it twice.
Right.
Panitom, I think we've seen, I can double check in a second here, a couple of times maybe we've seen it in mid. But definitely a little bit of a rise. Amaterasu and the Habwa Trelly.
Wow.
Locked in early, and they seem like they are confident with this pick.
I mean, that is a storied Paul pick. He came onto the scene playing that character. However, he kind of let it die. He was like, wait, okay, that character gets camped. I'm not really feeling the Hebo anymore. So it could be in the jungle, or Paul could just take it, but the Daji does have a nice matchup. You got that knock-up immunity with 1,000 cuts. You don't have to worry about that water spout. Especially if you get active in the early, you can really bully a Hevo. You want some extra safety. When you have a Hevo, you need some good peel to let it get online. But if you let it run away with the game, it certainly has that capability.
Now dancing alongside the Maui. And Hurry, I mean, we've seen this not only in your hands in the past, but I mean, just really over the day. The play setup that Maui brings, when I see a dodgy and a set, if you get to late game, good luck, because it feels like there's just too much follow through.
Yeah, these picks and bans have been very strange, I will say. I do want to say I think the Maui has been performing incredibly well. I don't think I've seen one bad Maui out from anyone all day.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe I shouldn't put my life on line for that one. Someone's probably going to clip something and be like, you must have missed this one. But in any case, I think Maui's been very efficient. He's been very consistent. He's safe. He has good early game. He's got good mid game, good late game. I think he's just a really consistent overall pick. Not surprised to see him picked up at all. Ishtar being picked in the 3rd pick slot by the Titans, a little bit strange. Usually that gets picked up a bit earlier. We can see these teams definitely have a different priority list compared to the other teams we've seen played so far. This is also going to be the first Daji game that we see. And it's going to be Panitom piloting it. So I know if I'm a carry on the other side, I'm a little concerned about that pick coming into the fray.
It's a small detail in what you said, but it's Daji and Panitom playing it. So, you know, if you're Mifflin, who's actually standing up in the caster booth getting ready for this one, you're talking about who he has said is the best jungler in his eyes in the world. And on a pick that Hurry and Shelly, like we've seen this Daji run the show to the point where it was permabanned essentially from the league. Nobody was letting it through. There was a period of time if Cuvo got it, your game was over. There was a period of time if anybody got it, your game was over. And so the Leviathans, maybe having some hidden strengths, maybe not even so hidden in that regard.
I think we've really gotten deep in what these players are looking to play. I think they both tried to mind game each other a lot for Daji to get that far in the draft, honestly.
Yeah.
Kabrakan being picked up. This is definitely an Aurora pick. I think we saw this from him in the qualifiers too, and it actually looks pretty good there. It's a pretty silent pick. It's an aggressive pick, yeah. I really like that for Aurora. I think it pairs well with Ishtar in lane as well. I think it's pretty solid into some of the picks the Leviathans have. It's really going to come down to how the game starts, though.
The bans that came out before that, Kabrakan, the Rom, the Hades banned away by the Titans. Sylvanas Wheelish banned out by the Leviathan. Sylvanas catches me a little off guard considering how long it's been since we've seen him, but not wanting to deal with the pulls. And in response to the Kabrakan, they lock in Xing Qin and Izanami.
Wow.
Little cheers out here for the Izanami as well. Shelly, how are you feeling about the bottom two?
I can tell you that right after the qualifiers, I jumped into a ranked game myself. I thought, this is great. We got Ishtar. We're going to walk up and we're going to get pressure for free. And I immediately got spammed by whoever I was laning with. Retreat, retreat, retreat. I look up, there's an Iza on the other side, and she still out-clears the heck out of Ishtar. I mean, it is still the freest clear you can get as long as you have an aggressive support next to you, which guess what Maui is. That means the Leviathans are looking to play through duo or at least get some pressure.
Oh my God.
What is going on? This is insane. I mean, we asked for the Tartarus Titans to switch up some of their picks. They switched up a solid 60% of them.
You gotta love the Titans, man.
Oh, yeah.
And you had mentioned, like, we're getting a little bit of shakeups from the Leviathans, like things that we're not typically used to seeing, but Thanatos was really low on the list of things I was expecting, even for Cyno.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cyno always picks some unique stuff. Before it was the Chalk, and before that it was the Scotty. And I will say Thanatos is an upgrade
on both of them.
From both of those. So if I'm a Titans fan, or if I'm on the Titans team, I'm happy enough with the Thanatos. It is definitely a big question mark. It fits pretty well with the Titans team comp. They have a lot of burst damage, which can set up for some pretty good execute plays. They do like killing frontline, this team. I think you can expect them to look for the frontliners, so I think it could be a good pick. Maybe it's a sleeper pick.
Shelly, I see these two drafts, and the first thing I think is that we're getting like the inverse of the last game of that last set. Instead of slow, low kill count, this feels like it's going to be just a bloodbath.
This is looking like an arena game, and I'm excited for it. I hope we get to see 20 kills in 20 minutes, maybe more. But this is the kind of gameplay I expect from the Tartarus Titans, and I'm so happy they delivered.
I'm excited to see what these two are going to be able to bring. And the good news is we don't have to wait that long to be able to get into it. Game number 1, aggressive plays, a rematch from last year's World Finals. And we're gonna go to the casters to get it started.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gormizer. It's J-Mac and Mifflin to bring you the World's rematch in a quarterfinals, Mifflin. This is not where we would expect these two teams to be squaring off in the tournament, but on our final set of day number 1, Leviathans and Titans going, and we've got some classic picks out of here. Paul back on the Habwa, Cyno taking the Thanatos as well. Titans are coming out swinging this game.
It's both teams. It's not just the Titans. The Leviathans have have got themselves an incredibly aggressive composition. I hope the desk is right. I want to see a lot of kills. When I talk about best of 3s as opposed to best of 5s, it's a question of how fast can you play? Can you blitz the enemy team? Can you catch them off guard? Seems like both teams have come in with the same strategy, which is run it down. I am curious about some of these selections, though. The priority list, clearly very different between these two teams. The Thanatos, the biggest question mark on the desk. I echo that here. If First Sight hits, we're feeling really good. If First Sight misses,
well, it could be a very fun game number 1. Make some noise. The World's rematch, the Atlantis Leviathans, Tartarus Titans, game number 1 to see who's going to kick it off for our final best of 3 of the quarter-final matchup. Paul back on the Habwa, something that I've been watching from him since Season 4, Season 5 when he was playing back in the Challenger circuit. I think a big kind of discussion point that we had during our post-qualifiers discussion was really talking about SOT, who's been doing these kind of weird off-meta style of picks, has been working out the best for this team. Seeing him on this Amaterasu, which has brought so much success across the board, could be an interesting way for the Tartarus Titans to try and maybe find some success in one of those lanes.
Titans fans salivating at the thought of SOT playing something that is in the meta, and I'm with them, right? There was a conversation for a period during this season where it's SOT is just the most mechanical player in the world, and then he started locking in things like Uhl consistently, and it wasn't looking nearly as good. Now in the Amaterasu, expectations at a sky high. I expect pressure to largely belong to SOT in this lane. Haddix, of course, one of the most talented soul laners in the world, but Jingchen, generally a pick that takes some time to spool up. We've seen Book of Thoth Jingchen very recently. This isn't that. This is breastplate first slot. Expect slow roll out of the short lane.
I'm also curious about this dual lane selection from Zapman because Izanami has not been meta like at all this year, to my memory at least. So seeing Izanami in game number 1 for Zapman is probably the most curious thing, at least about this composition, this draft. Also the fact that, Panitom got Dodgy of all players in the league to give this pick to. This might be the worst one to give it over.
Yeah, I think Izanami, interesting though, just has a good deal of pressure, the ability to match Ishtar and wave clear. You're not so concerned about looking at the 1v1 in this lane anymore. Zapman won't be losing out on too much farm, even if Stuart gets the better end of some of these trades. But it's also the ability to threaten beads. That ultimate, the Dark Portal, just a massive silence, forces beads there. All of a sudden, maybe Haddix is hitting pay dirt or he'll force beads. It really is just a relic desolation composition here from the Leviathans. Anybody on the Tartarus Titans who's reliant on their relics, you're probably just not going to have them.
Well, we do have the first scepter going to the Titans, able for Stuart and Aror to walk over and take that one away. And now it's return the pressure back to Ronngyu and Zapman. They'll be forced back to the tier 1 tower with Stuart playing up and aggressive. And Stuart's travel and his journey through the SMITE Pro League has been an absolute roller coaster. Replacing Zapman on the Solar Scares roster last year, making his comeuppance. I mean, watching him at Worlds in Season 8 was an insane matchup to watch for himself. Was very impressed how he performed then. This year was one of the top performing hunters all the way through Phase 2, and then Phase 3 hit a little bit of a brick wall for this player. So I'm curious to see how Stuart will come out here and perform in front of the stage.
I wonder which version of Stuart it is as well, because there was a period where he's one of the most aggressive players we've got, has since then dialed it back a bit, a little bit more subdued. Ronngyu, you good?
Ronngyu trying to get out. Does have the swing to get out of the tremors. Probably one of the more dangerous abilities this early on in the game with such low movement speed from the players. Zapman still standing up against 2. Loses out on a lot that holds on to the beads. Attached by Stu. He is waiting for the invisibility to fade. but Zapman is able to walk back to the tower.
I mean, shots in the dark in the truest sense of the word. Man was literally invisible. But if even one of those auto attacks connects, it's first blood. And what a statement that would have been for Stuart out of the ADC role. The Tartarus Titans clearly playing with a bit of confidence here. Let's talk about Aror for a moment, though. The Cabrakan pick, I love to see it. Everything we've always said about Aror is when he's playing aggressive, when he's in your face, when he can run you down, that's Aror at his best. I don't want Gab Aror. I don't want Yamoja Aror. I'm not looking at facilitators. Don't revive me with Khepri. Get in there and do it yourself. Cabrakan, certainly a pick that can really facilitate that style.
And it's one pick that's kind of really been so diverse within the league itself. Cabrakan multi-roles as far as we're concerned from what we've seen, especially when Fighters Mask became a thing, started seeing mid, solo. But I've been loving what we've been seeing out of the support role from a lot of the players in the league, Aror especially, with what he's been able to do with this one. But talk to me about kind of this mid 2v2 dynamic, the double assassin out of Leviathan, Sheento playing set, something that we haven't seen very much, if at all, this year. Couple that with Panitom on the Daji, versus Paul and Cyno, this mage assassin combo.
I mean, it's volatile, isn't it? Both of these guys, or all four of them rather, really could just get the ball rolling, and it's going to keep rolling. An object in motion and stays in motion, or something like that. Sir Isaac Newton. Look, if Cyno connects first Scythe in a team fight, said it earlier, looks good, looks amazing. If it doesn't connect, you're starting to see a little bit of concern there. You need that execute to finish off some of these kills, but I think the silver lining is, generally, you just cede pressure to the set. I don't think Hebo's in that position. Set jumps in, connect with your own damage, return, the global presence of Cyno, always a threat as well. If Sheento wants to get aggressive, he has to know where this Thanatos is. If the Thanatos is up in the air, Sheento gets punished for getting aggressive.
We had a couple near misses in the duo lane earlier. The Titans sending both Ronngyu and Zapman back to base with critical HP, so I imagine that's where a lot of the pressure for the Titans wants to continue up. Aror just now ticking to 5, and maybe we see a fight break out around this scepter. With SOT going back to base, something that, again, kind of coming back to what we were talking about with SOT, seeing him back on this meta style of pick. The Uller was fun when we had its moment, when it was the craziest thing, but it really felt like ever since that meta faded away, SOT's been on a bit of a decline. So I want to see what we can get out of SOT on this pick.
Already with Golden Blade early on, the inherent movement speed of Amaterasu should be able to maneuver the map pretty easily. We've seen what Amaterasu can do with a lead, and up against this style of Jingxian pick, tells me that the Leviathans aren't looking to help Haddix. They don't care about this lane anymore. It's everywhere else on the map. I'll be keeping my eyes on it. I wonder when he decides to rotate first. I mean, Greater Scorpion, sure, just fine, but we're getting pretty close to that time of the map where you can just go towards mid, get involved in that mid 3v3, dazzling offensive, one of the best initiation tools in the game right now. Could make it very difficult for the Leviathans to start stepping up.
Gotta imagine Cyno goes back to base sometime soon. I mean, we are 6 minutes in and he is still sitting on his tier 1 item. Meanwhile, Panitom's had the moment to go back for a full Jotun's Wrath. So Cyno definitely lacking not only in CDR comparatively, but just damage in general. Gotta imagine he goes back to base sometime soon, because Panitom is already trying to make waves in multiple different lanes.
Yeah, if he hangs out on the map much longer, that blue buff will spawn up. And I don't know about you, but I favor the Jotun's Wrath versus just the mace for Thanatos. If Panitom realizes that Cyno hasn't headed back just yet, could be an opportunity for the Leviathans to get aggressive on map. Is a trapping we see with Thanatos in the past. He just has such great jungle sustain thanks to his passive. Makes it pretty difficult to want to actually head back. It feels good to farm, but you need to get strong too.
You got to spend up that gold that you earned for yourself. We'll see how long it takes Cyno to finally go back through. Couple of players without beads could be good targets, one of those being Aror on the Tartarus Titans, for maybe Panitom to grab with that Pow Lao. But so far, both teams playing very cautiously, and we've been seeing this throughout all of our sets so far, Miv. Even talking with some of the players in the back, talking about how game 1 is so important for their momentum, not wanting to overstep. And that's what I've been seeing so many times today, where we're going 8, 9, 10 minutes before we really see that first battle kick off.
Yeah, I don't think the first battle's coming anytime soon. Cyno still hasn't made his way back to base. Ridiculous. You got to think at this point, buying an item will just speed up your jungle clear. Really? I mean, look how long it's taken him to clear these back camps. I wonder, the Leviathans, they just must not know. They must not realize that Cyno's still on map. The execute's still certainly a threat. You don't need power to get into that HP threshold.
Uh-oh. Ran into Panitom and Sheento immediately to the sky, and look at the burst damage from Sheento and Panitom on the Thanatos.
They're chasing.
Still chasing through. May just be a little too far for Leviathans to chase. Panitom doesn't spot Cyno backing, instead will walk through the jungle, but come up empty-handed.
Hey, at least now he's finally made his way back to base. Should be a good deal of gold to spend on. What a massive power spike for Cyno out of the jungle. Full Jotun's Wrath pickup, as well as the Hydra Star, so a ton of CDR available, a little bit of penetration as well. Gonna be a massive, massive bit of damage behind him. But instead, it's the Leviathan striking first. Gold Fury, can they sneak it?
Aror is nowhere nearby, and I'm not even sure that he knows this is happening. The Atlantis Leviathans on this slow early game have netted themselves the first objective. Gold Fury at 8.5 minutes. This is one of the earliest Furies we've had in a while.
Send Cyno back to base. You know, worst case, there's at least no jungler there if you pull it. That global presence lost as well. So the Leviathans hedging their bets. Just go ahead, pull the objective, heat check the Titans, and the Titans nowhere to be seen. This is a smart response. You know the Levi's on the left, and you pressure the right.
I'll dash out by Stu. Has the ultimate to get away from Palau if Panitom does decide to use it, but instead we'll just poke a little bit of farm up against Stuart. And now maybe a breakout on the right side. 3v3, double knockup for Haddix. But Cyno's taking a lot of damage. No beats, thrown back. The damage from Sheento hasn't come through just yet. Cyno sitting at half HP, needs a sight, and he does get it just in time. But Panitom strikes first on the other while Ronngyu gets it going on the right side of the map. A 1-for-2 trade out for Leviathans, and now here comes Paul. Knock up in the crushing way. Paul goes big.
Comes up 2 for 2. A fight split across the entirety of the Conquest map. Goes even here, 9 minutes in. That was amazing play from Haddix. First and foremost, 3-man knock up, 2-man pull in. He's connecting CC with more than you could ask of your Jing Shen. But even then, the damage output just wasn't quite there. It's the heal from Cyno, connects the scythe, keeps him alive for just a little bit longer, buys time for Paul to rotate through and make him pay. Didn't get a chance to see it, but Stu shutting down Panitom as well, that's big.
Yeah, it looked like a trade out kill over on that left side of the map, so 1 for 1 on the right, 1 for 1 on the left. Gives us an even 2-2 and a dead even game state because of it. First blood bounty completely negated already. Stuart, because of how much pressure Panitom and Zapman putting on this left side, falling about a level behind Zap.
And the itemization difference as well might rear its head. If the 1v1s continue over on the left, Zapman should just have advantage. Connect one stray crit, doesn't matter how much additional penetration you get from Executioner, it just does not feel good to take that 1v1, as well as the anti-life steal, the anti-healing from the Shadow Steal. Could be now that Stu tries to slow down his pace over there, set up some wards, make sure Panitom doesn't come back through, and just allow Zapman to push these waves in.
Well, Cyno, despite not going to base for almost 8 minutes of play, has been able to get quite a bit of experience. Even taking a lead over Panitom, level 10 versus level 9 in the jungle just now for Panitom, ticking over to that level 10 point. So I wonder where Cyno will try and get aggressive on this Thanatos. I mean, we've seen passive Thanatos plays. We think back to Rapio a couple of phases back, went almost 18 minutes without a single point of damage, but I don't imagine Cyno and the Titans are a team to let their Thanatos sit by.
Is SOT just gonna pull it back out? The Leviathans, they started the Pyro, they reset it. SOT walks right up in front of him and takes it for his team. The Tartarus Titans grab themselves a neutral objective. That's crazy. I can't believe Haddix just walks out of there. Both of them, the Leviathans, just give one over to the Titans here.
Just an uncharacteristic moment there for the Leviathans. Normally they're very privy to who's around, did we leash it, is somebody there to pick it back up, but just let SOT and the Tartarus Titans have this one. That gives the Titans about a 1K lead. Stuart finds a stun on Zapman, a lot of damage up against the Izanami, but Zapman able to dash away. Ronngyu there as backup. But now Cyno starting to exert some pressure. The rest, all 5 of the Titans are on the left side of the map. They spotted out Ronngyu, and they'll just keep him back so they can claim the oracles.
I love that call from Stu. Realizes I don't need the win 1v1s anymore. It's not just me versus Zap. Just got to get him into the execution threshold. One more auto attack may have done it. Cyno's so close by, hovering death available, but Zapman escapes by the skin of his teeth. That was thin margins for the Leviathans ADC player. A pick on the Zap there probably wouldn't have amounted to too much. Best case scenario, grab a tier 1 tower, but momentum swings heavily in games like this, and the Tartarus Titans would have loved to have grabbed that kill.
Tartarus Titans Now with that momentum, grabbing the Pyromancer, taking the Oracle Harpies, getting some vision on the left side to help Stu out. And it feels like that's been just enough to build up Stu's confidence. Him taking 1v1s against Zapman multiple times so far this game really is a good sign, and maybe a little bit of life in the Tartarus Titans duo lane.
It is, but look at the dual lane tower. Zapman's been getting the better end of a lot of those trades, pushing in. Should be able to take it on, what, 2-3 auto attacks given the opportunity. Up to Stuart to make sure that gold remains out of the pockets of the Leviathans. It's a slow pace for now, but the Fury spawning very shortly could be the POI that forces the hand of both of these teams. Both squads have got pretty decent opportunities to look towards the objective. You probably favor the Titans in secure, burn. I would give it over to the Leviathans just thanks to that crit build from Zapman. But it's not as if either team's so confident that they could just do it in the face of the other. It's what I would have said had SOT not just done that around Pyro.
Yeah, I mean, SOT walked up and effectively scared half the Leviathans away. Now to start up on the Primal Fury, it's the Tartarus Titans to pull it out. Ronngyu charging up the hook. Will he go for the pull? It's on to SOT. Some startup crits from Zapman to get the fight going, but SOT's dash has been blocked. Palau out by Panitom. Can he pull anybody in? It's only Aror, but Cyno in the sky needs the execute on top of Haddix. The Tartarus Titans starting out the fight strong, and Sheento, half HP on the set, has to back away with the rest of the team.
Stu heads back to base. It's a lot of your DPS lost with the Tartarus Titans. Keep up the pressure. Leviathan's hovering nearby. Keep your eyes on Sheento. He's got the flank.
Sheento wrapping around. Primal Fury low. Primal Fury secured by the Titans. But in goes Sheento. Silence knocked up. It has to use the Aegis. Sheento is gone, but Zapman has found an instant double kill in the fight. And now Paul is fighting for his life. And he will fall. Triple for Zapman. Panitom on the run. And Ronngyu and Zapman slamming through. Panitom falls. But Zap and Ronngyu keep pushing on.
Keep your eyes on Zap. Where's he headed? Towards Stuart. It's a dash forward. Pulls good.
Grab him back in, but beads are gone from Stuart. And the teleport in from SOT with Zapman at half HP, silenced out. Portal goes through, but Zapman went nowhere. Stuart goes back in and returns the favor.
Tartarus Titans keeping their heads above water and do one better. Finally, a substantial lead in this game. Stuart, phenomenal rotations, has to go back to base from the TKO, comes back to a free kill. Zapman sticks around just a bit too long. SOT creates the space, but really, it's electric here. Either team could take it. Keep your eyes on the Pyromancer. That's your next POI. That's where we'll see the fight occur next. I'm not certain that either team, again, has got the opportunity to just do it in the face of the other, but the Leviathans have shown a bit of confidence. The Tartarus Titans, on the other hand, have been very willing to allow the Leviathans to make the move first.
A lot of the audience so far, you may have been hearing, has been chanting for the Tartarus Titans to make that upset, to knock down the reigning world champions in round number 1 would be such a story for this Tartarus Titans team, one that's had to, similar to the Solar Scarabs throughout these last couple of years, have had to rebuild themselves back through. Paul and Aurora, the only consistency from last year in towards now. SOT coming onto this roster beginning of the year, added a little bit of life over in that solo lane. And now the two newest additions, Cyno and Stuart, on this roster. What a story it would be for the Titans to be able to strike first in this game.
Would be massive, a huge upset in game 1 here. The Leviathans, of course, given the opportunity to choose their opponents, did take the Titans. The Titans pull the Pyro. Where are the Levi's? They let this one go once more. Titans slowly pushing their lead even further. Had they had eyes on the map, maybe even could have pushed in towards the Fire Giant. Instead, it's going to be a reset back to neutral. Why leave it up to risk? You've already taken your small win.
And remember, when we go back to the draft show, when the Leviathans did pick the Titans, what was it that Ronngyu said? Zapman told me to pick the Titans.
So
he's confident that we can win them, so we picked them. But so far, at least early on, it has backfired against the Leviathans, a 3,000 gold lead for the Tartarus Titans and climbing, even despite some of the objective play maybe not being the best. Zapman even getting a triple in that last fight just hasn't been enough for the Leviathans to claw back in yet.
And the Titans have hit some pretty big power spikes as well. Shogun's finished up for SOT, synergizes well with the physical damage dealers on his team. Cyno and Stuart both going to benefit pretty greatly there. Otherwise, Paul finished up the Soul Gem. Imagine that healing could be the difference maker in some of these fights, as well as just the ability to deal a little bit more damage. But I'm keeping my eyes on Aurora. We're still stacking up that Gauntlet of Thieves. Going to be a little while until he finds the value of that item.
Even on the opposite end for Haddix, going for a little bit of anti-heal for him's team. And they need a little bit of extra with how much sustain does come from this squad. A Divine Ruin in second slot with a Heart Ward to deal with some of the damage from Paul and Aror, who have been throwing out this game. And you definitely need the defense against Paul. 3 items deep on the Habois and is nearly topping the charts as far as player damage is concerned. Paul's going to become a problem very soon.
He's going to be a one-shot guy pretty soon. It's not about consistent DPS from Paul. It's one-for-one trades, high-value trades, or even just multi-man ultimates could really swing a lot of these team fights. A pick that we've seen a lot from Paul in the past, one that he's been keeping in the back pocket for a good while now, and maybe an opportunity if he finds Sheento.
Sheento knocked up and not even a chance to use a single relic. Cyno, credit to the kill, but the setup there as a combo between Cyno and Paul to knock him down. And the Titans are moving towards Fire Giant. Where are the rest of the Leviathans? Haddix is the only one nearby, but the Titans may have just been fishing to see if anyone would step forward.
Zapman slowly rotating across the map. Titans can't do fire until Stu gets there. He's working his way forward as well. But with 20 seconds left on Sheento's respawn, I don't think this is a fake. The Tartarus Titans want it.
This is gonna be close. No real good confirm outside of Paul for the Titans, which is a lot of damage through. Half HP on the fire and falling rapidly. Ronngyu can't get in, needs to use that landfall to try and take it. But the Tartarus Titans grab fire. A big landfall has only pulled the team fight back to the Leviathans. Cyno in the sky, grabs on Haddix, but that was the wrong target. Zapman and Haddix turned the fight around.
Cyno just lands into the CC. Panitom connects with one. CC immunity there. The Tartarus Titans, sure, you lose one, but 4 fire, you're willing to take that trade every single time. Just a bit too trigger happy from Cyno on the hovering death. If he waits out another half second, just connects the stun onto Haddix, the rest of the boys are there for the follow-up. Just a bit too early. The Leviathans, they take fire off of one, but even then, not a priority target. When you're talking about Fire Giant, the conversation's around mages for scaling, hunters for towers, and at least one tank to tank up the towers. Titans got all that.
Leviathans start at the Gold Fury, but Aror and the rest of the Titans have sniffed it out, and that's going to be enough to push the Leviathans away for a moment. Back on it are the Leviathans, but they're not willing to commit to this, at least not until Haddix shows up to the back line. It's going to be 5 versus 4 until Cyno returns. But Ronngyu is so low in HP, and the CC onto Haddix is keeping Leviathans at bay.
It is. The Leviathans, though, may have lost their opportunity to look towards this Fury. Ronngyu cannot stick around. The Tartarus Titans now starting to surge forward, and even if Cyno isn't directly in the engagement, that global presence should get him towards it at a moment's notice.
Zapman tries to go for the steal, but the Tartarus Titans get the goal.
So close.
While just shy from Aror to catch out Zapman. That would have for sure at least gotten the Aegis away from the Hunter. Remember, Bede's still down for over 70 seconds on Zapman. No ult. He gets caught out there. That is a guaranteed kill on the Hunter.
A guaranteed pick into a guaranteed Phoenix. The Leviathans narrowly avoid that fate as well. But the Tartarus Titans have still got time to play with. This Fire Giant, pretty long lasting, and plenty of towers to line your coffers with. Tier 1, the first to fall in mid, and the Titans should not slow down. Leviathans, do you dig in your heels here at the Tier 2? Is it at the Phoenix? We'll see.
Trebuchet helping with the siege in mid. Knock down the Tier 1 tower, now moving up for the Tier 2. But the Titans may just slow bleed this one out. Wait for Leviathans to step up, and maybe wait to see where Paul is, because he hasn't shown himself on the map just yet. But the Tartarus Titans will move away from mid, instead back up towards the Pyromancer, and head over towards the right lane to knock down this weakened structure.
Yeah, they've spotted Sheento now on the left-hand side, so the Leviathans, best case, playing with 4. Doesn't seem to be best case, though. The Tartarus Titans, they grab the Pyro, they grab the Tier 1, they can keep up their siege at that. The Leviathans trying their best to collect gold on map, clear out as many buffs as they can before this Fire Giant starts to respawn. But if the Tartarus Titans collect too much more, it would make it very difficult to take a fight in neutral territory. I'm watching the Titans. They're taking a very slow approach to this siege. Instead, hovering in the jungle. If anyone from the Leviathan steps forward, I'm looking at you, Ronngyu, could cost your life pretty quickly.
About maybe another minute and a half left on this Fire Giant buff, and still plenty of towers to knock down for the Titans. Tier 1 and dual lane still stands. On the Leviathan side of the map, all Tier 2s left standing as well. Seems this Fire Giant was more to clear it off the map, but felt like that team fight right after where Cyno goes in, ends up dying, may have pumped the brakes just a little bit on this Titans team. For the Leviathans, on these siege defenses, once we start getting maybe towards this next Fire Giant Midland, where do you kind of see that opportunity for Leviathans to jump back in this?
Man, we haven't seen the full brunt of this CC heavy composition just yet. I want to see stacked CC. Have Haddix go in first, burn off these beads. Panitom rotates through. Powwow, a massive disruption tool. Just hit whoever Haddix did just before, and all of a sudden you've got to pull in for the follow-up of Sheento. Ronngyu could pull him even further back with the landfall as well. There's a lot of lockdown potential from the Leviathans, but how the Tartarus Titans have dealt with it has been intelligent in that it's just aggression. It's just run it down. Don't give them those opportunities. Desync those abilities and take the fight on your own footing. It's been one-shots from Paul. It's been Aror starting the fight with these walls, and the Leviathans have not quite found their footing in the 5-on-5.
Leviathans down about 5,000 gold to the Titans, which is nothing crazy, even at this level of the time. Paul has hit a big power spike himself. That starter item now upgraded. Charon's coin as well for some percent pen against these not so tanky targets of Ronngyu at the very least. Haddix stacking up a little bit of extra CCR for himself. But Aror stepping forward. The Leviathan standing in the mid lane. Titans are really taking their time through the jungle.
Yeah, they're just waiting on the Fire Giant to respawn. Keep your eyes on vision. As of now, Tartarus Titans got a good deal around the Fire Giant pit itself. The Leviathan's going to have a very difficult time fighting their way forward, or at least catching the Tartarus Titans off guard. Fire Giant starting to spawn its way back up. Levi's slowly rotating in.
Ronngyu and Haddix here once again. The carries are a little further behind.
So
Fire
fast.
Giant is melting. It's already down to a quarter of its point. Tartarus Titans get the fire. Can they take the fight this time? Haddix has grabbed only Aror this time through. And Ronngyu swinging out. Panitom, what are you doing so far up? Cyno dunks down.
He's next.
Ronngyu is gone. That is 2 down from the Leviathans, and the Tartarus Titans surge forward.
Keep stepping up. Cyno off the mark with the side, but the rest of the boys right behind him. Water Carpet putting in extra hours here, but they've done enough in the actual engagement. Fire Giant on 5, tier 2 down, and Bird not far behind it.
The reigning world champs down in game number 1. The Titans making a bold statement up against their former combatants, Zapman and Haddix, here to defend, but Zapman lost half his HP from one shot by Paul. Phoenix gone, and Sheento nowhere to be found on this defense.
SOT here to make sure Sheento doesn't do too much more, and it's still a push from the Tartarus Titans in mid, regrouping slowly, grab the Greater Scorpion, could grab that wave, start moving in towards this tier 2 as well. There's a lot of gold in pocket for each individual member of the Titans. Power spike certainly still there. Upgrade your relics, finish up your items. Time galore to play with on the FG buff as well. I'm curious now, we still haven't seen the Leviathans truly 5-on-5. Even in the last Fire Giant dance, it was, okay, Haddix goes in, let's try and peel out now. Ronngyu forced to use the ultimate defensively. Panitom caught a bit off guard. Powwow's a bit early, stays up in that immunity. Why would you want to land into all 5 of the Tartarus Titans? Has to do so anyway, and gets picked out on the tail end. And now it's the Titans finally going to ask a difficult question. Grouping up, 5-man on the left. Grab whatever you can in the jungle first, then push in towards these last couple remaining towers from the Leviathans. It's been split pushes from Sheento. It's been collecting farm on map or pushing elsewhere from Zapman. And it seems to be a commonality now. The Leviathans do not want to defend. Instead, they're grouped up on right.
Zap and Panitom pushing a tier 2 there, just now backing to base when all 5 of the Titans are knocking at the door of the Phoenix. But the Titans are being very cautious on this push. They take the tier 1, they grab the tier 2, but they're not going to push any further than that.
Could be a tier 2 in mid, fall back to Pyro. Again, a lot of gold in the pockets of the Tartarus Titans, and it's still relatively early in terms of Smite. Couple power spikes still to be had by the Tartarus Titans, means if you head back, could give you even better odds in the next engagement. But if anybody from the Leviathans gets picked, I want to see the Titans step up to this Phoenix. Tier 2, no defense from the Levi's. This could lead the Tartarus Titans down a less aggressive path, but instead of step forward,
Tartarus Titans looking at the mid Phoenix, splitting their attention, sending Cyno to the right side, has that semi-global to jump back over at any given opportunity. Even SOT going for the flank, but Leviathans are all split up under their own Phoenix. Sheento was not with the team just yet, was clearing out a wave and left. and will now head back to the fountain and rejoin his squad in mid.
So now the Leviathans finally have to defend as 5. It's really difficult to push into all this CC. Ronngyu might start off the fight with a landfall. Could be an indicator of the go button for the Leviathans. Tartarus Titans, though, slowly pushing their way in.
SOT is just begging for anybody to start a fight. Ronngyu goes with the ult, and it whiffs entirely. Now down a quarter HP on both of the frontliners. Haddix ultimate only gets a trade out with SOT. Phoenix down to a quarter HP. The Tartarus Titans with his Emperor's armor on SOT can just walk right in, but nobody's hitting the bird. Instead, it's SOT hitting everybody else. Cyno up in the sky. Who will he land on? It's Ronngyu. Execute is good, but Sheento finds one in the back. Trades out, and it's Paul who grabs it. Look at Panitom. As soon as he lands, it is to the Sharks. Who's going to be the one to grab him? It's SOT. 3 down on the Atlantis Leviathans. 4 strong for the Tartarus Titans. Game number 1 is going to go to the runner-up from last year.
Tartarus Titans want to pad their KDs a bit. Paul grabs one more. Zapman fed to the Wolves. Aror in trade, but it only prolongs the inevitable. Tartarus Titans, game 1 in clean fashion. I said it earlier, I don't care if it's clean as long as you get a dub. The Titans seem to care a whole lot because that was concise, clinical, methodical play. Grab your towers, grab your objectives, finally push into the Phoenix, and the Leviathans could never find their answer.
I think this answered all 3 of the questions that we had coming into this event for the Titans. Is SOT going to play a meta pick? Are we going to see something new from Cyno? And is Stuart going to get that confidence back to play? All 3 of those boxes checked, and a dub in game 1 for the Titans.
The Titans looking very good. They were a clear underdog coming into this event. I mean, the Leviathans confident in their selection here. The Titans struggling in the qualifiers as well, but this is a completely different look at this team. Drafts different, players playing different. It's a pacing difference as well, and it all looks good for the Titans.
I just gotta say, seeing Paul back on one of his classic carries from his SCC days way back when.
All the way till now?
I remember interviewing Paul, and I asked him, man, when are we gonna see, your Ullers come back, your Habwas, your Freyas, things like that? Obviously the Freya may be a bit of a stretch there, but when are we gonna see those classic style of picks? Well, apparently he was waiting into the world stage to do so. Tartarus Titans take game number 1 in convincing fashion. We're gonna take a break and come back with game number 2.
Give me all the confidence.
Welcome back, everyone, to the analyst desk here at the SWC Season 9 World Championship. A surprise, I think, in store for us when the Titans are able to come out on top. Aggressive plays. Admittedly, I thought the first 7 minutes were going to be a little bit bloodier. It took a little while to get there. We still got there nonetheless. Of course, looking good in game as well while they're playing. If you want to pick up some of these skins, and specifically the digital loot pack, which is still available and can maybe help support the reigning world champions right now if you're a little worried about them. The Atlantis Leviathans Gilgamesh is a part of that alongside Dragon Lord Lancelot, Midnight Waters Yamoja, Shining Dragon Yu Huang, the Dragon Lord Loading Screen, Dragon Lord Avatar, Well Played Deathmark, Challenger title, and a Divine Treasure Chest. If you want all of that, make sure that you get the digital loot pack now. And of course, rock the Atlantis Leviathans Gilgamesh. Last year, they made a huge splash on. This year, though, Trelly, hurry. Maybe they need that splash back. I mean, things are not going the way they anticipated, Trelly, after game number 1.
Yeah, I loved how the casters broke it down. I mean, everything that we called for, the Tartarus Titans implemented into their gameplay, right? I wanted to see more diversity on Cyno's God Pool, and we saw Thanatos. I wanted to see more aggressive play. Aror was just going in consistently on this bracket, and more specifically, Sot sticking to the meta. He played Ama, and he looked real good doing it. So this is a completely different Tartarus Titans team. They completely turned around their team play. I imagine the Atlantis Leviathan squad that picked out this team, they might be questioning, is this the team we picked out? This is not the team that we just saw playing qualifiers.
And that's exactly what I was thinking the entire time I'm watching. I mean, especially, you start off, you see the triple kill for Zapman, and you're thinking, maybe this is the same Titans that we saw in the qualifiers. As the game went on, Hurry, it felt more and more like we were seeing a team that had really studied over the last week even, and improved themselves from even what we saw last week. You know, despite the fact that they won both of their sets, felt a little sloppy going out of it, and you can tell that they really learned from those mistakes, really kind of put that and applied all of those lessons. And come in, find game number 1. They're 1 game away from potentially upsetting the team that knocked them out last year. And you have to imagine they're feeling really good about it. When you look at the KDAs, you don't see anything that's too crazy. I have to give SoloOrTroll a special shout out because 3-0-8 just looks fantastic. 3-1-7 there for Paul. Hurry, it just feels like the team's done the studying they needed to and really applied it.
Yeah, Gore, I'll tell you 2 things about the Titans. One is they do their research. Aror is probably the most prolific pick banner I've ever known. He spends hours and hours going over the different possibilities and picks and bans. And the other thing I want to talk about is that they played their game.
Yeah.
They didn't care that the Leviathans got the quote-unquote meta picks. They picked their Kabrakan, they picked their Hebo mid, and by all means necessary, they were going to get that Thanatos jungle, and they killed it. And that really kind of denotes what this Titan team is about. They're not afraid. They let Panitom have the dodgy. Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking that's going to be a big problem. He was invisible that game, which is crazy because I don't think you said that all year up to this point when it comes to that guy on that pick.
I was going to say, Panitom being invisible does not feel like a phrase that you should say, period.
No.
Adaji being invisible, especially what we saw earlier this year, feels like it shouldn't work. The fact that the combination of the two fell apart or admittedly just didn't show up is remarkably impressive, though you have to imagine right now, Leviathans, as you can see, grouping up, discussing things, not out by any means necessary in a team that hurry again. If you're going to keep your head in it, they're going to be very level-headed. They recognize how to take a loss. We've seen them do it in the past. They were down 2-0 to the Kings in the playoffs, still push that set to 5. They definitely have the wherewithal to hold on.
And thank goodness for Oxy, because I know that he's going to come in there and he's going to have a game plan for them, kind of run things down and prep them for what this next game is going to look like, because they saw a lot of stuff they've probably never seen before, or it's been a while before they've seen it. So they've got to do a lot of thinking about how they're going to adjust in this next pick bans.
The last Thanatos that I remember, honestly, Sam for Soccer always comes to mind when I think of that pick.
For better
Probably,
or for worse.
I was going to say for better or for worse. Maybe not what the team had in mind when they were coming into this. Again, looking at it, the Naja, Trelly, you had mentioned it last time. By the way, picks and bans, game number 2 starting off. And with Naja Amaterasu banned out by the Leviathans, definitely doing a little bit of work in between games here, Trelly, to try and adapt to this.
Yeah, the 2 things I was looking towards here for the Leviathans is number 1, I didn't love the set pick for Sheento. It seems like they picked it to take it away from Paul. I'd rather put Sheento on something that he can hard carry on, and it looks like they made that adaptation. The second thing was actually taking the arm away from Sot. I don't think it made the flashiest plays, but getting free farm in lane, hyper farming all the way to level 20, and then making those impactful rotations. I think SOT was a huge reason the Titans were able to dominate towards the end of that set there. So probably smart, and the Leviathans did both those things. Maybe speaking on the Hurried set, Hoxie may have seen the same things I did and wanted to make those adaptations. The difference maker is, what are you going to first pick now? I still think the Vulcan could be something that they're looking towards. I think Sheento has a fantastic performance every time he touches that character. And the Tartarus Titans know, hey, he's not going to first pick set this time around. Are they still trying to play through Sheento?
Well, last time around, they were in that unfortunate position. I mean, we were talking a lot about the Morgan. Vulcan got banned away as well. So you didn't get the option, right? The set was so weird. Even Hurry, you called it out. You're just like, I didn't know they had a set player. I think from what we just learned, that maybe they don't. And they're going to make some adaptations. We get to see Sheento on Vulcan. A pick that I'm really excited for. Again, Hurry, the amount of impact this can have and what we saw it do during the Phase 3 playoffs, it is a huge, huge presence on the field.
Yeah, and honestly, I just want Sheento on a mage. That's really what I was thinking as I was watching this last game, is I just want him to be on a mage. If it could be Vulcan, then I'm even happier, right? Because now we get something that we know he can dominate on. That's a high quality pick. And I think this is going to put the Leviathans back into a comfort zone. I think the set is probably something they practice and work, but I think coming back to their identity and having him on a mage is going to be really important for them.
Ishtar locked in by the Titans. Nothing really crazy about that one, if I'm honest.
I'm sick of Ishtar, honestly.
Yeah, you know, we have been seeing a lot of Ishtar. And definitely something that has to be kept in mind. Maui gets locked in alongside it. A couple of new gods to rival Vulcan's old age in SMITE.
Yeah, the Titans kind of going a little bit more meta this time around, I want to point out.
Almost bizarrely,
just
right? It
feels
feels weird.
Swapping. Really, like, this was Kabrakan and, like, Thanatos and Hebo by this point, and now we're going back to, like, the meta picks other people were playing. So I'm wondering what their game plan is here, actually going back to this style.
Maybe even if it changes, right? If we get into game and it's like, okay, you played meta and it didn't look good, you played yourselves and it looked great, that's definitely going to maybe affect things moving into the future. Also worth recontextualizing, you know, we've been talking a lot about this being a World's Finals rematch. And overall, last year, Leviathans won 3-0 in the finals.
Right.
But they actually have a 6-3 set win advantage over the Titans here. It's gone 11-6 in games, though, so relatively close sets each time. They've just been able to eke out some wins. And if you're locking in gods that have been around for a while, you might as well just keep it running. Charlie, they grab Ymir, they grab Ram. All of these have been high impact. The Ymir we saw earlier was absolutely insane. No way are they hovering it.
Nope. Please no.
They're getting egged on. They lock in the Hebo. We're safe.
Goodness.
Paul gave us a thumbs up. It's
Charlie's
okay.
eyes were bulging out of his skull.
Bro, I was so happy to see the Thanatos. I mean, like, I was absolutely jumping for joy there. However, I'm liking the Hebo as well. I think this was a pick that has always get bullied in the early. That's usually how it goes. But when you let this Hebo get late game, you get 2-3 items online, that one-shot potential is always going to be there. And we saw it really that one time when Sheento said, oh no, I better beat this water spout, didn't even get to, and was absolutely deleted before he could even sandstorm away with that set pick. Of course, Cyno got credit for that kill, but the burst was coming from Crushing Wave. And I think that is still something the Leviathans should be wary of. Now, though, they've got some of that birch on their side. They've got that Vulcan ult, and if you can just CC this Hebo a little bit, pull some beads, maybe get some lockdown, that Earthshaker's going to do the same thing.
It's going to be a massive set of plays. Hurry, you seem pretty excited to see the Hebo come back as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that was really pivotal to the Titans' success in the last game. I do think that was a pick that Paul liked into the set mid in particular. I think it deals well with assassins. It deals well playing defensive as well. But ultimately, this is a god that Paul has made his name on. And it really, really worked last game. It was really tough, I think, for Panitom or for even Haddix to really get in and do much as that last game progressed. So I think it's a good idea for him to go back to it. I do want to point out, the Chalk was hovered. Cyno made sure that I was going to let everyone know Chalk is not that bad. I don't know if I agree with that. I told him,
that is a
you
quote.
Can prove that by playing it and showing everyone it's not that bad, but preferably not. We'll see if he pulls it out again, but he's going to have something special.
If the Leviathans ban it right here, then that'll prove it's bad, because they hovered it. They said, hey, we kind of want this chalk. And Leviathans are like, oh no, we're scared of chalk. And if they ban it, I'll eat my words. But so far, it's been in a Wheelix, and they've got one more spot. I really don't think it's going to be a chalk.
Naja already gone set, arguably more for Paul than it necessarily is for Cyno. We'll see where they go with their next ban.
Are we thinking of Thanatos again?
Do you go back to it? Do you ban the Thanatos here? Do you think it was impactful enough that it's worth the ban?
That's an ego blow. No way they're banning Thanatos.
And you were right. It's a Haddix.
Yep.
It's nothing crazy alongside the Wheelish. The other side, Susano and Lancelot. So a lot of the jungle field stripped away. Neither of these players able to get it. Although, notably, and we haven't seen him in a long time, but like we've been watching a lot of highlights of Erlong Shin from Panitom, Gilgamesh. I think maybe because I read about the digital loot pack is on my mind. Nothing that's been too forefront as of late. There's still some picks that have been massive. Guan Yu locked in here, Hurry.
Where's he
Presumably for SOT, and you know what? He's been around kind of sometimes.
Yeah. I'm surprised. They've had a lot of success with this pick. I honestly forgot about the Guan Yu. I think it's a little rough in the Ymir, possibly, but it's a pick the Titans have succeeded in the past with. I think they're very comfortable playing with healers on their team as well, whether it be this Guan Yu or maybe a Hell even in mid. So I think it's something that I know the Titans are going to be comfortable working with. I think it'll be successful this game for the Titans as well if they can make it back to the late game. I was going to note, no respect on the Daji there and those bottom bans, so it is technically still open. Panitom not going to be psyched out. I'm glad to see him going back to it. I think if they're going to make it far in this tournament, they need to have that pick, so I'm glad he goes back to it. And Odin pick, maybe in prep for that Guan Yu, they were ready for that one.
I mean, Shelly, you talk walls. Ymir came into the conversation. You're like, oh, that might be a little rough. Now you got 8 of them that you're going to be dropping. I mean, it feels like this is going to be, could be at least, a very big pick, Trelly. At the same time, we've also seen Odin's fall absolutely flat on their faces.
I mean, that's the big difference maker, right? You're double dipping in Phantom Shell value, but also, if you're using it on the Ymir wall, you don't have it for the Odin cage. Vice versa, you can make use out of that relic, and if you're forcing into that Phantom Shell, you better not get beads early on for the Daji. So I think relics, certainly something Leviathans need to play through here. You got 2 huge circles. If you catch someone out in that Odin cage, you better assume there's a fully charged Vulcan ult on the way. But the Titans, they get the Hebo back, and they get the Thanatos back. You feed the hot hand. That's something we say a lot in a situation like this. Throw the meta out, throw the rules of SMITE out. If you know you're going to be hitting every single death scythe, if you know your crushing waves are on point, who cares what the rest of people say?
Do you think, Hurry, that this is enough? Do they have the recipe right now for the Titans to cause what I would argue is a massive upset? Can they eliminate the Leviathans here?
I think they maybe have what it takes with their team comp. I think whoever gets off to a better start come team fight stage, whoever's running the show, I think is going to be who we see come out on top.
Well, Trelly says you got to feed the hand while it's hot. We'll see if they can do it here. The Titans on the cusp of a 2-0, or will the Leviathans fight back? Let's find out with J-Mac and Mifflin.
Tartarus Titans decide to go back to the same 3 carries that brought them success in game number 1. When the Leviathans swap around their draft a lot, this Odin is a final pick for Leviathans. Maybe the biggest question mark, at least for myself here, Mifflin, because we've already got the Ymir. That's going to get some Phantom Shell value, but Acides is talking maybe trying to double dip into that aspect.
Look, I've been a major Odin fan for a very long time. I come from simpler times. I played on box. It's hard to move your controller. So we locked in Odin, okay? It's easy to line
Odin,
things up.
Sylvanas,
but the value is certainly there, especially in a world where you're forcing out Phantom Shells, having 2 ways to do it, always going to be pretty decent. Having the inherent synergy of the massive Circle Ultimate of Vulcan Ultimate, as well as the cage, I think going to be very destructive, as well as the fact, said it twice, there is not a whole lot of ways to escape the cage or the walls in draft. I mean, it's Maui or it's nothing. Ishtar dashes into a wall. Hebo really doesn't have an option. You've got Thanatos hovering death. Sure, go ahead. It'll take a little while, but you'll get out of there. And then Guan Yu really, really struggles against Ymir alone. Cavalry charge so difficult to utilize if Ymir is looking for you. It's very telegraphed when you choose to move forward. This is a composition, I think, from the Leviathans that plays very well into what the Titans have got.
And as mentioned up there by the desk, that it feels like whichever team kind of gets that first step forward, that first real lead, could just completely run away with this one. Last time around, it was really back and forth between these two teams to kick it off. Zapman got a big triple kill, but the Titans were grabbing all of these objectives, really just kind of scaring the Leviathans away from Pyromancer, Gold Fury, time and time again. We'll see if the Tartarus Titans can keep up their momentum from game one as we jump in to game number 2 between the Atlantis Leviathans and the Tartarus Titans. 1 game away are the Titans from knocking out the reigning world champions in the quarter-final matchup of this best of 3. And if game 2 is anything like game 1 was, this could be a swift one for the Tartarus Titans.
I'm keeping my eyes on Panitom. I mean, I've said it a lot. I think he's one of the best, if not straight up the best junglers in the world. And it was a pretty quiet performance from him in game 1. Wasn't quite able to get active on map. Wasn't really utilizing the burnt beads that Haddix is lining up with that Jing Shen. This Daji is a statement pick. The fact that he's gone back towards it is a vote of confidence for the Leviathans and a vote of confidence for Panitom. I want to see it perform.
Well, we do see slight invade by Ronngyu on the Ymir, but Aror is here to try and at least stop some of this, but it seems that Ronngyu is able to grab both of these smaller minions, hog forced by the hand of Aror this time around. Maybe to see if they can find anything more on Ronngyu. A second pullback is good. Stuart's on the way, but there's just not enough lockdown on the Ronngyu.
No, just way too much sustain as well. Even if Stuart gets there, meditation's still available. You want to get to the wave as quickly as possible. That pressure, so important in this lane. The neutral farm around the duo can really swing the sway of things in the first 3 to 4 levels. Scepter, the camps on the left-hand side, second rotation of purple buff so important. And a lot of the times it can stem or bleed from this first wave. So just go ahead, let him go, catch and release. Even if you could lock down Ronngyu, better to get in towards that neutral.
Last time around, we saw a very slow early game from Cyno, more of a power farming style of mentality. It was almost 8 minutes before he went back to base to try and get active, get some of those items up. Panitom tried to make some waves on the left side of the map. For the Leviathans, and for Panitom specifically, as mentioned, a very quiet game number 1. Do you see him going back to the duo lane, put that pressure on Stuart, or would you rather see Panitom go somewhere else?
I mean, Stu, a pretty decent option, I think. Slowing down the Ishtar, who is likely to be playing aggressive, a great target for Panitom on this Daji. Otherwise, you don't really have too many opportunities to rotate towards SOT once Cavalry Charge is available. He's just going to be incredibly safe, and he's double dipping on defense in first slot. Once Breastplate of Valor is up, Haddix and Panitom are going to be lacking in the damage department. But Paul was given a free ride in game 1. He was farming up pretty consistently without a whole lot of pressure coming his way. That's a pretty decent target for Panitom as well. Daji has got great DPS in the early, the burst potential to match what Ahibo brings early on as well. I just want to see him run it down there. Otherwise, ultimates here could be good.
SOT will be dove on by Panitom for a moment, but a massive minion wave alongside SOT will deter Panitom and Haddix from going any further in the fight. How's the rotation by Cyno? A fight over the blue buff, and that Death Scythe, plenty of damage for Cyno to secure the invade. The Tartarus Titans strike early in the solo lane.
Tartarus Titans playing very well around the early aggression of this Thanatos already. We had seen him spend a whole lot of time farming up in game 1. It suits him well. I mean, backing to essentially 2 entire items, never an awful feeling, especially with the pressure not really rolling from Panitom there. But if you catch Cyno slacking in the jungle like that again, and it's a telegraph play, if he decides to do it twice, we'll see that it really is an active decision from him. Just could be an opportunity for the Leviathans to force the fight there. You'd ask me, Panitom over towards duo, maybe solo, maybe mid. Catch Cyno with no items? I mean, I'd take that.
Especially since Cyno once again is rocking no beads for a first relic. It is a blink on the Thanatos. Will only have CC immunity from his ultimate. We'll see if Panitom likes to put some pressure up against the enemy jungle. Maybe throw some attention towards Paul this game, as mentioned. Essentially got to free farm and free cast during the entirety of game number 1. But now level 5 on the Hopwa means that Paul has access to that ultimate, an extra form of CC, and really kind of damage immunity in the secondary with it.
Yeah, Crushing Wave, a great defensive tool. You'd prefer to use it towards the enemies, but for now, it's about slow roll, early game, stack up the Book of Thoth, or finish building it, rather. Only 4 minutes in as of now. I imagine we see first POIs generally looked at around that 10-minute mark. Gold Fury, a great target. Both teams got pretty decent opportunities to look towards it. Any team that's got a Vulcan, though, I tend to favor around first gold greed. That burn potential of the turret, the Earthshaker for secure, about matches what Crushing Wave could bring. If the Leviathans want to slow roll till then, I won't argue too much.
So one thing that was mentioned was one team gets the advantage, they can just keep running with that one, but say we go this game 20, 25 minutes and sitting near dead even at that point.
Oh, I hate that.
Is there, we'll say there's some kills and some fighting sprinkled in there, but let's say we get to this point, you know, all this battling is taking place and we get to a Fire Giant dance 25 minutes in the game, dead even. Do you give an advantage to one of these compositions?
In a situation like that, it's a conversation of ease of play. Which one of these drafts is easier to execute on your strategy? I would probably argue again towards the Leviathans there. It's just non-committal damage from Sheento as opposed to Paul, who has to dedicate his positioning. Really essentially just a magical assassin on the Evo. Cyno, if he's not connecting those ultimates consistently, would be very difficult for him to survive some of those situations. I mean, the one ultimate he whiffs in game 1 cost him his life in a pretty magnificent way around the Fire Giant. So from an even state, 20 minutes in, Leviathans, but only because it's easier, not because their composition is all that much stronger.
We'll see if this game stays even as we crawl past the 5.5 minute mark. Still, at least remaining even between them, but we haven't seen any action this time around. Game number 1, we at least saw, you know, shades of Panitom going to the left side to try and get active, or Cyno maybe moving over towards mid to get a little bit of pressure towards Sheento, but haven't really seen anything besides Panitom and his single rotation to the solo lane. Now we see the second rotation over. SOT has ult, and no fear for Haddix and Panitom. Instead, will actually turn around and fight right back at him at the tier 1 tower line.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no threat onto SOT there. I mean, he's got so much defense, CC immunity, sustain as well. Less now from the Brawler's beat stick in first slot for Panitom, which means first pal out needs to find value. That CDR not going to give you any bit of leeway in usage of your ultimate, whereas on the other side, Cyno, it's not really all that concerned with the damage output that he's bringing himself. It's more so, how often is Hovering Death up? I'm a threat just there. I'll get him at execute threshold. I'll finish it from there, guys. And it's a composition that's built well around it. I am surprised to see the Brawler's beat stick from Panitom. Maybe wants to continue putting his pressure onto either Cyno or SOT. Those are the only two that have really got a whole lot of healing this early on. Unless he wants to rotate towards Stu, deal with that Devourer's Gauntlets, but feels like Jotuns could have really found some value here.
SOT should be fine in the solo lane for a while. As mentioned, not a whole lot of threat to this Yu, but Panitom's not really putting pressure anywhere on this map. He hasn't shied over towards Paul just yet. We haven't seen him stray towards the dual lane to see if he can find any pressure against Stuart or maybe force a rotation from Aror. It's been very passive play by the Leviathans, and because of that, no real team is really eager to step forward and kind of cause anything. It feels like the Titans, similar to game number 1 for Cyno, very active, at least sticking back and keeping up this power farm mentality. It feels like the onus is on the Leviathans to make that first step.
Yeah, maybe for now, the CC nature of Panitom, I think, would go really well with an initiation. Just jump in there, maybe try and force the ultimate out of Aror or get some resources off of Cyno or Paul, but with both teams largely just trading neutral farm, I'm not willing to say that one has to get active over the other. Neither side really declining.
Maybe a kill onto Sot now. Will go on the cavalry charge, but won't have the CC for the immunity after. Big Vulcan ult by Sheento, but a shot after and a teleport in by Panitom. Strikes first blood for the Levi's.
You might not be able to do it with just the physicals, Haddix and Panitom, but get Sheento in the mix, and SOT will melt away. It's that large circle synergy. Odin Cage and Earthshaker just gonna work every single time. SOT probably thinking about picking up a Phantom Shell in that next slot. Also a bit there, so a missed opportunity to head back to base, but not gonna get too much here are the Leviathans. It's just first blood, get out.
Leviathans strike first, but now what will they do with some of that kill? Will they rotate Panitom over and try and keep the pressure up onto SOT? Will we see Sheento rotate out of this lane more? I mean, you look back on game number 1, and maybe we had to hold up on that for a moment. Cyno getting aggressive in the jungle. SOT and Aror there is body block to make sure, I should say bodyguard, for Cyno, but even in the 3v4, still willing to step up. Paul on the way. Haddix caught out, forced to jump out. Now it's 3v3. Cyno in the sky. He will dunk on top of Ronngyu. All the CC in the world isn't enough to take down the Ymir yet. SOT locked in the cage and dropped down, but Aror trades out one. A pull in by the Powwow will yank the Maui back, but it's still not enough damage. Sheento, not quite there just yet.
Paul on the retreat now as well. It's SOT who steps out of line too deep into that tower. Haddix locks him down and makes sure it's a 1-for-1 trade. The Leviathans keeping their heads firmly above water here. Get a look at the dual lane for a moment. Seems as if no one's been able to find a significant advantage here either. It's been fighting everywhere around the map, jockeying and pushing for these small advantages around neutral farm, mid camps, greater scorpions, but nothing really substantial separating these two squads. Maybe a bit of experience in a couple of these roles. Panitom been nursing about a half level to level lead for a little while, but otherwise, even with a couple of kills on SOT, 0-2 now, he's not even that far behind Haddix.
Haddix is, in fact, technically behind Zapman. Half HP, Sun Sword's out. And the immunity from Zapman gone, but Panitom and the rest of the crew have rallied in. Haddix has teleported over, but it's a portal out by one. Aror frozen, and the bead's gone from Stuart. He'll get back to the tier 1 tower, and somehow this 2v4 costs nobody any lives.
The Leviathan still hovering heavy here. Haddix, massive rotation, cost him his relic. Gotta do something on this side of the map. SOT matching rotation though, perhaps concerned about a Gold Fury pool.
It is pulled up by Leviathans, all 5 here. SOT going in. Aror dunks on top of Ronngyu and waits for the pull, but it's a double freeze, double cage, and a big Earthshaker after, but it just misses Aror, who jumped in the sky. Cyno finds a pick in the backline. Ronngyu low, and Cyno and Paul move in for SOT to find the second of the fight, and Cyno will just force Zapman to the sky.
Zapman's got to land eventually. What goes up must come down. Lands into the Lion's Den. The Tartarus Titans put up another. You may have pulled the gold. The Titans smell it, and they stop you in your tracks. Gold Green now over to the Chaos side. No response from the Leviathans. The Tartarus Titans just playing different.
This is a completely different animal than what we saw in the Phase 3 playoffs, in the last chance qualifiers just last week. This Tartarus Titans team has made a complete 180 in play style, Mifflin. These guys, it was so hard for Cyno to find any kind of initiation, to find a pick that, I can't say that he wasn't comfortable on, but one that he's looked this good on outside of the Naja, which has been permabanned since his first game back.
But even just take into account how he addresses that team fight, it was similar in execution to what he was trying to do with the Chalk. Oh, you're diving my backline? He heads up in the air and does a counter dive, tries to catch out whoever he can. On Chalk, it was the exact same thing. He just didn't have the damage. Now he's got a pick that's got the damage, and Cyno's looking good.
Pyromancer started by the Levi's, but again, forced away by SOT and Aror. The Titans found a 2-for-1 trade in the last fight. But not only that, also able to grab the Gold Fury, and that's given them at least a nice about 1,500 or so gold lead up over the Leviathans. And this is similar pacing that we saw in Game 1, Miff, where the Leviathans would try and grab something, the Titans would step up, push them away, and we're seeing it repeated on full display once again. Haddix tries to go in, only throws the spear out towards Paul. Haddix had to expend his body to steal this one, but now it's Haddix keeping the Titans away from the objective.
A reset from the Tartarus Titans. Questionable reset at that. It feels like even just water cannon, probably a pretty decent confirmation tool. Didn't have eyes on Sheento, so maybe concerned about the Earthshaker rotation from over the wall. Cage from Haddix, still incredibly disruptive. Waiting on the Phantom Shells from the Tartarus Titans. Maybe it's going to be Aror, picks it up. We're about 3 levels out from there. SOT just now got the option to pick up his second relic. I'll be keeping my eyes on him as well. But for now, the walls, the cages from the Leviathans still find full value.
Both SOT and Stuart have hit that level 12 point, but when I'm looking at the opposite side and I see a Vulcan, I don't know if me as a carry personally wants to be the one to have to go to Shell. I'm getting Aegis to keep my life alive, and that's what Stuart will do. But another pull of the Pyro for the Titans. Earthshaker over the top, doesn't take it away. The Tartarus Titans grab that. And can they get out of the fight? Not a lot of chase from the Leviathans this time around. The bubble from Aror will pull SOT back, and the Titans make a clean getaway.
Zapman's made the rotation, though. You know you got a TKO on at least one. That Earthshaker found a whole lot of damage, so a push into the tier 1 in response, pretty decent. A bastion of safety lost now for the Tartarus Titans. If the fight goes south around the gold or the pyro, they'll have to run a bit further to find that safety on map. Leviathans still in this one. I'm keeping my eyes on Zapman. He's been really happy with these rotations. Getting involved everywhere on the map. Maybe caught out here.
Beads available for Zap. Doesn't use them on the ult. Has to use them this time, but it is too little and too late. Where was the Aegis for you, Zapman? You get bursted by Cyno. And the dual lane has been sprung wide open, forcing a rotation from Haddix, but maybe that was not the right call. Half HP on him, pulled back by the landfall and executed by Cyno.
The Tartarus Titans just playing the map better. It's a roaming death ball of 3. Takes out Zap. Haddix has to defend the wave. Gets caught on his own. Now Sheento and Ronngyu here on the left. Tier 1 goes. Paul's pushing mid. SOT on right. It's a war on 3 fronts, and you just haven't got the numbers.
Paul still pushing up. Tier 1 tower did manage to go back and get his soul gem online, and now the gold is starting to spiral back to the control of the Tartarus Titans. 3,000 up, and even more so in experience. Leads in nearly every front at this point. Level up for Stuart, 2 levels up for SOT, and Paul has just barely got about a half up over Sheento.
You know, Hurry said it on the desk. It would have been an ego hit to ban out the Thanatos.
I'm doing it from here on, bro.
Yeah, go ahead, bruise my ego, break it for all I care. He's 4-0-2. Don't let Cyno cook on the world stage. 6 out of 6 affected kills from the Tartarus Titans jungler, and he's only going to continue to get stronger from here. These executes have just been stifling. The displacement from Aror, the confidence from Stu every single time to just go in, regardless of where anybody is on the map from the Leviathans. If Cyno's nearby and he's looking for an execute, Stu will dash at whoever he wants. It's teamwork through the roof. It's draft and composition strategies from the Tartarus Titans that just make them look so different. They have played up to the Leviathans, and it's starting to look like they've surpassed them.
And this is what I was talking about with Stu on the post-qualifier show, which was the last time we saw Stu really play aggressive, really feel comfortable in the lane, was when he was with Scream, and Scream would go over, facilitate for Stu, say, look, dive up there. Dive their tier 1 tower if you want. I've got your back. And we didn't see that for the longest time with Layers when he jumped over.
Where are the Levi's?
Didn't see it from Cyno at first.
Let it go?
Totally transformed Titans team. They'll be able to grab a Primal Fury with no answer from the Leviathans. It's not just Panitom who was quiet in game 1. All of this game, the Leviathans have essentially gone silent.
I mean, it started so well in the soul lane. Haddix was getting the better out of SOT. Those cages are good. Sheento makes early rotations, but it wasn't able to turn into anything. It wasn't a blue buff invade afterward. Pyromancer wasn't available yet, and the Leviathans just had to settle for these small wins, whereas the Tartarus Titans have just been asking the difficult questions, rotating with strategies in mind. Okay, we'll catch out Zapman, take his tower, back up to the Gold Fury. Pyromancer pickups here or there as well. The Tartarus Titans have extended their lead masterfully, and now can continue to do so. Play around this trebuchet, grab another tier 1, stack up those coffers, back up, get ready for the fire. Generally 20 minutes is that magical time where the fire giant becomes available for either one of these teams, but the Tartarus Titans have stacked up so much advantage at this point that the Leviathans, they're fully on defense.
Leviathans are playing catch up at this point. 4,000 down to the Titans. A trebuchet shoving up the right lane, and with Stuart there next to it, that tier 1 tower will not stand for much longer. Just a couple of fireballs should knock that one out, but we have a full 10-man grouping in the solo lane at 17.5 minutes.
1v1.
Panitom goes in up against Paul, still holding on to Aegis and Beads. Beads are gone. Paul used the ult to immune one final shot from Zapman that could have dropped him. The cage from Haddix has only locked SOT, and who is juking as much as he can, but it's just not enough. The Leviathans have answered back with the walls. Doesn't catch anybody this time through. Aurora stunned out. Frozen
Another
again.
one.
Health bar's low.
Pulls
Landfall
good.
pulls 2, but it's only to his own doom.
Paul needs to be there for the follow-up, but Panitom taking that 1v1 in the jungle completely removes him from the equation, and now the Leviathans finally strike as 5, play together, pull the fire, but the Tartarus Titans, they're nearby. Cyno healthy, as is Stu.
Cyno's got ult. Stuart does not. Paul on the way with 3 and Kit. Ronngyu knocked up, knocked down. Cyno with the execute,
Look
but
at Paul.
Paul has no relic and is being massacred by the front line of Leviathans. Panitom on death's door, and
Cyno's
Cyno
fast.
wants to be the one to deliver him there. It's a double for the jungler of the Titans.
Cyno on the retreat now. Haddix on the chase. Zapman still stepping forward as well, but the Tartarus Titans have been given time to respond. It's just Paul dead for 30, Panitom for 36, and Ronngyu for 10. Maybe with a 4 versus 3 advantage, could be a time to start to step up to the fire as the Chaos team. 4 moving up the Tartarus Titans.
Wait, the Leviathans have left. They've
there.
disappeared
He can
entirely.
hear it.
Haddix is on the way. Sheento has ultimate. This is
They know.
not a guarantee for the fire, and the Titans should know this. Caged by Haddix, ult by Sheento,
It's
slams 3. Haddix strikes first in the fight. Snipes from Zapman, not enough damage to take down SOT, but the Leviathans have pushed the Titans back.
It's been a back and forth battle around this fire giant. One team finding a pick, a response, 4 versus 5 in exchange, and now the Atlantis Leviathans finally find some concrete footing. 5 versus 4. Cyno dead for 30. Could be time to start stepping your way forward. I'm taking my eyes towards the relic, J-Mac, and we got a tiny monitor up here, keep me honest. No phantom shells for the Tartarus Titans?
No, not even a regular shell. This is bold by the Titans, if anything.
Usually, the Odin
That's
cage
maybe being
alone
nice.
is enough. Ymir wall alone is usually enough. No answer from the Tartarus Titans. The best defense is a good offense, I suppose. That is the stratagem here, and the Tartarus Titans have to play well around it. If I'm the Leviathans, I'm thinking to myself, yo, Haddix, just get in there, all right? Put a ring around anybody, and Sheento's going to follow up. That is a hard decision to make. The Tartarus Titans, no respect for the Leviathans draft.
Just saying, Haddix, set up the octagon and we'll be the ones to knock them dead. Leviathans, though, all spread out while the Titans go back to the fire again. Haddix is here, Sheento in mid, and Earthshaker is back up. The Fire Giant to half HP. They've got Paul this time for secure and for damage.
Reset.
SOT is stunned and the fire gets set once again.
Tartarus Titans gonna back themselves up once more. Wonder what they're looking for there. Realizing Zapman is on left, he shows himself in mid as well. Could have been an opportunity to look for the 5 versus 4, perhaps a chase out, but the Leviathans show just enough of presence to keep the Tartarus Titans at bay. Neither team able to step forward, even with a couple of great team fight wins for the Leviathans. It still is the Titans nursing a small lead, probably just Ward's difference here. Titans step up once more. If that pool connects, a TKO on a Haddix would be massive.
Haddix has been the one to set up for the rest of the squad with this cage. Has allowed Sheento to hit multiple 2- and 3-man ults at these big team fights. Once again, starting around fire, Aror able to juke out the damage from Sheento, and he'll walk back with the rest of the squad. The Titans are playing this slow, but Aror cannot be the only one up here. Wall will block him off. Aror
It's a lot of
at
damage.
half HP will be forced to swing away, but
Here goes
Haddix
Haddix.
goes right in, drops the cage, and that's 2 locked in. Landfall doesn't do much, and Sheento will knock down the support. SOT throws out the beads with a Vulcan ult. Off the mark by Sheento. Cyno and the rest of the squad separating to avoid the powwow.
Panitom just off the mark there. So the Tartarus Titans, a second lease on this team fight. Aror plays far up in the engagement, realizing I'm the only guy. It's got to be me to start the fight. If a wall spawns behind me, I'll leap over it. If it's a cage, the exact same thing. But once that leap is down, with no phantom shells, it's easy for the Leviathans to work their way forward. If the wall's just a little bit better from Ronngyu, Sheento's ultimate lands, and it's a double pick. Fortunately for the Tartarus Titans, Aror being only level 13 means his respawn timer very low as well. Should be able to step back up, but feels like death of 1,000 cuts now. The Leviathans have taken these small wins back to back, equalizing the kills 8-8 across the top. And the gold, it's not far behind it.
It was a 4,000 gold lead earlier for the Tartarus Titans, and the Leviathans have clawed their way back to leaving it only 1,000 between these two squads. The Tartarus Titans have not had the greatest team fights in the last 5 or so minutes of play. And maybe this does come down to the fact that there's no phantom shell. Once Haddix jumps in, there's no escape for anybody. They can't break the walls down in time. And all it takes then is one ult from Sheento to close things out.
Yeah, looking like Ares out there, the way there's no escape. The Leviathans have just been able to run them down every single time. But the Leviathans have not started the Fire Giant. they have to be concerned about the counter initiation from the Tartarus Titans. A crushing wave connects with 2, and the fight follows. If Cyno finds his execute, gets those HP resets, could be very detrimental. The Leviathans have been counter-punching this entire time, but as the game starts to equalize, we'll see these pulls from the Tartarus Titan, the willingness to just go in towards the fire, start to diminish, and then the Leviathans will have to start asking those questions themselves.
Leviathan's starting to group on the right, and now knowing that the Oni Fury was started and the carries are on the left side for the Titans, the Leviathans will pull the Fire Giant. It is melting fast, half HP. Ronngyu and Haddix step up to keep the Titans out, but it's not over just yet. Sheento goes in, the Leviathans get fired, but it's a double pull by Aror. Sheento's relics are down, but a big meatball separates things out. Paul drops them in later. Ronngyu falls as well. It's 2 for the Tartarus Titans. Panitom all by himself, and all 5 of the Titans surge back and knock down 3.
Cyno with the double dunk keeps things alive. Sheento a bit late on the beads, pulled in by Aror, and the Tartarus Titans finally, with the Leviathans asking the questions, the Leviathans pulling the fire, find a win in the team fight. 3 dead. 20 seconds left on Ronngyu. The Tartarus Titans 5 strong. Paul, the only one below 50%, could be looking for a bird here.
Mid-tier 2. Foregone gone. It's gone. Mid-Phoenix. 2 still standing. 4 seconds on Ronngyu.
It's going quick.
And no way to get there in time. The Tartarus Titans answer, hey, take the Fire Giant. We don't care. We'll take 3 of your lives and take everything standing in the mid lane.
They got the Gold Fury. They get the fight. They get the Phoenix and potentially the Pyromancer as well if they so choose. Cyno has gone unanswered in these engagements. That double dunk, man, the stun. Just so clean by so much time. Sheento sure can separate the fight with Meatball, but not long enough, and the chase down's just there for the Tartarus Titans. But now it's the Leviathans once more who could start pushing forward, deal with these enhanced minion waves in mid, perhaps even look towards this tier 2 tower. Fire Giant on 2, Haddix and Zapman maintain their buffs. Hurrywin lines it up perfectly. Said the ADC is the battery, the backbone of your team. You can't do much if Fire Giant doesn't land on him. He's 1 of 2, but Zap's got it.
Zap does have it, but hasn't been able to get very active in some of these team fights, sitting very low on the player damage chart, even barely just above Panitom at the same time. Whereas nearly everybody on the Titans above him in that regard. Only one topping that is Sheento, and well, with all respect, Sheento's been landing 2 3-man Earthshakers almost this entire game. But the Tartarus Titans, with that pushback that they got from the last fight, not only knocked down the mid bird, but are now sieging up the left side of the map.
And the siege potential of the Tartarus Titans is decent. It's the displacement from Aror, the non-committal initiation that's going to keep the Leviathans guessing. Base defense equally good from the Leviathans, though. It's a standard mage. Sheento going to be one of the biggest proponents of the defense. Earthshaker connects with 2 or 3 as it has been, and that's it for the Tartarus Titans. Time to back up. Seems to be time already. Just pepper some damage in the tier 2. Heat check the Leviathans. They show up in numbers, and the Titans say, all right, well, you're the ones with fire. We're backing up.
Yeah, it's only fire for about another minute on Haddix and Zapman before that one fades away. And we wait for the next dance to begin. But the Tartarus Titans are the ones with all the momentum, even though the gold lead hasn't spiraled anywhere out of control just yet. It's not even back up to where it was before the Leviathans had their fight back. Instead, Leviathans group up on the left side themselves, knock down a tier 1, maybe a tier 2 to follow. Tartarus Titans slow to rotate to the left side, but maybe not the end of the world losing this tier 2.
No, gold is starting to lose meaning as this game approaches the 30-minute mark. It's supports that still need items. Otherwise, we're rapidly approaching 6 slot for just about everybody else on map. Starter items, relics need some upgrades, but besides that, we're very nearly at full damage stack from both of these teams. I think it's going to come down to this next Fire Giant. I don't imagine we see anything happen on map again. The Tartarus Titans found a strategy that works. If you want the Leviathans to pull the objective, go over towards the gold. It's risky. You have to dedicate people to the Gold Fury, but it's one way to force the Leviathan's hand, or just get a free objective. Get a little bit more gold and experience in your own coffers. I'm not certain that the Titans, though, are ever really going to be able to just pull the fire. In a 5-on-5 engagement, pre-pick, generally it's pull fire, generate threat, force the defense. The defense is strong. The defense is a cage, and if it connects with 2, it's an Earthshaker on 2. No Phantom Shell. So the Tartarus Titans, I'm not sure they'll ever be the ones to pull the fire. Maybe it's just got to be the Leviathans.
I mean, it comes down to our conversation we had about 20 minutes ago, man. If I ask, we get to 25 minutes, dead even game state. How does things go through? We're dead even 29 minutes in. We're getting close to enhanced Fire Giant. The ease of execution still goes to Leviathans, but Tartarus Titans don't care about how easy it is to execute your team fight. They have just been cleanly cutting through the Leviathans' defenses.
And my mental arithmetic on ease of execution for the Leviathans took into account that I thought Tartarus Titans were going to be walking through walls at least once or twice with Phantom Shell. Hasn't been the case and won't be this game. But look at this, it's a 5-stack, they want the smoke.
Haddix jumps out, Zapman caught, gone before he had a chance to use a relic this time. Cyno in the sky, but his target has gone up on the Palau. SOT gets pulled back in, but it's a 4v5. Stu finds 2 with the ult. Haddix sourced out, Sheento low, and no beads on the mid laner.
Tartarus Titans found their pick, Zapman dead for 40. Fire Giant on the map and enhanced by the time they get to it. Will the Leviathans step up for defense? Sheento still has access to ultimate, but the fire's going quick.
Fire's melted right as the 30-minute ticks through. The Tartarus Titans have grabbed enhanced Fire Giant. Ronngyu throws a wall, separates one. Landfall will block off his only escape. Vulcan slams 4 though. Cyno low, but Ronngyu even worse.
Got him.
2 more down. 10 seconds till Zap is back up. Haddix to the grave. The Tartarus Titans are 1 step closer to knocking out the reigning world champs.
It's EFG, you don't need backdoor protection stripped. You can just go ahead and walk on in. Right side Phoenix gone. 2 dead, Panitom no ultimate. Zapman has his, Haddix does it. 5 versus 3.
30 seconds more till anybody's back, but the Tartarus Titans might not need that. Cyno in the sky, crashes on Zapman. Knockup is good. Zapman is down, the 3-time, and the reigning world champs are not going to the semis. Instead, it is the Tartarus Titans.
A dark horse contender in the Tartarus Titans. Nobody had them advancing here against the reigning world champions. We called for it earlier. It can't just be the Titans on a good day. They had to play beyond what we had seen, and they've done it. New strategies, new drafts, and a new look at the Titans.
A new confidence in this squad that has been so severely lacking for the last phase or more of play of this team. This is a lights-out performance by the Tartarus Titans, and one that's given me some confidence in them, because remember, Miff, their next opponent is the Jade Dragons, who looked hot against the Oni Warriors.
It's still a tough matchup, but the Tartarus Titans make a good argument for themselves. The Jade Dragons, I think, going to have a long night ahead of them, because that's a completely different team they have to study now. Everything they prepared beforehand, you look at the qualifiers, who cares? The Tartarus Titans, it's different.
The Tartarus Titans held strategies. They came into the Worlds qualifier and said, we're going to play this and this only, and we're not going to need anything more. They said, when we get to Worlds, it's a whole different ball game. Paul back on a signature Hopwa pick that has just looked absolutely mental. Cyno on this Thanatos. I don't care what the Leviathans are saying. I am banning that pick from him from here on out. He is disgusting on this pick.
Yeah, you don't have time to nurse your own ego in situations like this. It's about finding the dub. But I'll give you a nugget of knowledge. I got a chance to talk to Slaney before this set, and he said one thing to me. We're confident, and if we win this set, we're winning Worlds.
We'll have to see if the Tartarus Titans can hold that one up. Can Slaney and the rest of the team keep this momentum going? A great look from the Tartarus Titans to keep this one going, knocking out the reigning world champs in round 1 of the Worlds. This is a storyline I don't think anybody was predicting, Miff.
The Leviathans chose their opponent. It didn't have to be the Titans. They chose their doom here. Tartarus Titans, of course, playing beyond expectation. I don't think the Leviathans were wrong in their decision at the time. Who could have expected such a leap in skill since then?
No, I don't think they were expecting. I don't think any team out here was expecting what the Titans are going to bring out in this set. When you go into a draft like that and you say, hey, man, we're confident. We know what the Titans are doing. We know what they're capable of.
Who knew?
Nobody knows what they're capable of now, because they didn't change really anything from game 1 to 2. They picked the same 3 carries. They picked a Maui and a Guan. That's not new innovation. That's the same 3 carries. Run back one more time. I don't know what it's going to take to stop these guys, but it's got to start with slowing down Cyno.
I think we have to call into question Cyno's God pool still, right? We've only seen one addition in this set. and it's the Thanatos. If you take that away, what's next?
It has been an absolutely insane game from the Tartarus Titans, and we've got the man himself, the jungler, standing by for our interview on the stage with Kelly.
Thank you so much, Gore. Joining me right here, guys, give it up for the Thanatos player, Cyno. How does it feel to take down the reigning champs?
It feels pretty good, I don't really view them as the reigning champs. It's a new year, so just got to view every team the same, in my opinion.
I like that. That's a good thought process right there. Obviously, game number 2 was so back and forth. What was the turning point for that game that led to your victory?
They left Hebo open.
Don't leave Hebo open, guys. Well, going up tomorrow, you're going to be facing the Jade Dragons. What are your thoughts on that?
They're a good team, but we're also a good team, so we can win, so.
I mean, after what you did today on Thanatos, I know at one point you were 8-1-4. I'm sure you ended the game on even higher right there. I bet they're going to be banning Thanatos and Hebo off on you. But anything that you want to say to all your fans, those guys right there?
No, I mean, I definitely appreciate the support. We can feel it during the game, so keep it up.
Thank you so much, Cyno, and thank you guys in the audience. I hope you enjoyed the qualifiers today. But right now, we're going to be heading back to the desk.
Thanks so much, Kelly. As we close it out, 4 sets in one day, 4 teams gone from the World Championship. I want to be honest, I was going to say this coming into today, but one of those teams is the Atlantis Leviathans out. The dream for 4 rings for Zapman ends, while reignited is the dream for a 3rd for Paul. Jumping back up there, of course, for Stuart, for SoloOrTroll. For a lot of these guys, it'd be intense. Not only going to the semifinals, trying to get to the finals, potentially get a championship. There's a lot of good that game, Hurry, but it's really hard to look past anything that doesn't start with a C and end with an O. It is entirely Cyno that just steals the show.
And honestly, who would have expected any different? I swear the last time I remember seeing Cyno play, now when I envision it in my head, is back when he won Worlds and Splice. That's the Cyno I feel like I'm looking at right now. And if that continues the rest of the tournament, they'll be a contender. And it's really cool to see that he brings out a pick that everyone's not only excited to see, but is being efficient and what it's doing. They came in with their style. He's coming in with his picks. Maybe we finally knocked enough bad gods to the side where we found one that's working as well. I do expect it to get banned in the future. We'll see if they respect that pick in the Dragons tomorrow in their set. But this guy is on fire right now. I mean, he looked very comfortable, no nerves, finding the right targets, being patient. Maybe one little slip up with Fire Giant a little bit earlier in the game, giving a shutdown kill, but for the most part, a very clean game from him.
I was floored, and I know you two were as well. I heard Mifflin mention it at one point. Dave was when he was here talking about it. The fact that up against a Ymir and an Odin Trelly, it's not a single Phantom Shell.
Yeah.
And yet, not in spite of that, it feels like, Trelly, they were still able to push themselves further and further beyond to find a win.
Yeah, I could see the mindset. Who cares if you're in a cage? Like, are we trapped with you or are you trapped with us? That's kind of the mindset there for the Tartarus Titans. They were W keying. And you know what they say? It's a tale as old as time itself. You can't give Cyno Thanatos. Everyone says that.
Yeah, you can't give Cyno insert God here.
Yep.
And then as long as you,
That's right.
have the sound bite, just get somebody like recording you with your mouth moving, and as long as it lines up well enough. It's usually just the truth. Specifically, I saw Nika between games, or during game number 2 there. And he said, like, look, if Cyno's playing something and he plays it well in game 1, you ban it game 2. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it feels like it is a useless ban. It is worthwhile to save your mental and to push him onto something that is going to be at least somewhat new, somewhat uncomfortable. Right. And unfortunately for the Leviathans, they learned that lesson maybe the hard way here. Nothing but 2-0s today. Blows me away considering how exciting some of these games were.
And they were exciting, man.
I just want to highlight that they hovered chalk for a second.
They did.
What
Teaser.
What if they locked that chalk? Would we
We're
go
talking
to game
number 3.
You could have banned Thanatos and you could have found out, but you didn't. And you paid the hard way, like Gore said. And I think ultimately the other teams will hopefully not follow in those footsteps, and they'll consider taking it away, maybe bottom 2 at least.
Off to the side, there's some timeline that branched where Cyno played chalk that game, and admittedly, then there's another timeline where it wins, and we're just like, oh my god, we have to talk about a chalk that won. And one where it lost, where Chelly just gets to sit there and have a 5-minute "I told you so."
I am super down to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
I just haven't been yet, so I'll be here.
If they win, it's
all
not because of the
weekend.
chalk. Okay.
I'll be here all
If
weekend.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly
That's
what
what I would say. I'll go down in the grave like that, saying that.
Well, we are going to be breaking it down, not just this set, but all of the rest. Day number 1, take a peek at day number 2. All of that, though, after this quick break.
Every change has a reason. Baby, let it come to you. Every soul, every season lives outside of status quo. If we stop believing we're meant to be, expanding our abilities. If the passion's gone, we are doing it wrong. Baby, you and I should start living now. With the whole world at our feet, we could stay or we could leave. There is nothing in between. So baby, we should start living now. 'Cause we only have this life. Wanna laugh and wanna cry. I don't wanna waste my time. So baby, we should start living now. Baby, we should start living now. We are close, can you feel it? Something is behind the clouds. We just have to believe it, that we can make the sun come out. Let us lose ourselves in a fairy tale. Who can say what's wrong or right? We're the only ones who can decide. Baby, you and I should start living now. With the whole world at our feet, we could stay or we could leave. There is nothing in between. So baby, we should start living now. 'Cause we only have this life. Wanna laugh and wanna cry. I don't wanna waste my time. So baby, we should start living now. Baby, we should start living now. Baby, we should start living now. I don't wanna waste my time. So baby, we should start living now. Baby, we should start living now. Baby, we should start living now. Baby, we should start living now.
everyone. For the last time today, the analyst desk here at the SMITE World Championship, Season 9.
Am I an analyst?
You are now. You sat down. Like, you asked to be up here.
I did, you're right.
You nominated yourself.
You're right.
Premier SMITE analyst, play-by-play announcer, Dave Dolson Olson. Excited to see what we have, I think, in store for tomorrow, because the first thing we're going to be looking at here is the bracket. For anyone, look, at this point, if you're just tuning in, man, there's a VOD. I got some advice for you. Go back and watch it. 2 O's is what it says, but do not let that fool you. All of those games, I don't think there was a single one that was not exciting that was played today. The 2 O's, teams coming out on top, but every single one of them being an absolutely insane match. I know J-Mac was running a prediction for the brackets.
They're busted now.
And I'm certain everybody has lost the way that theirs have been. I want to pick your guys' brain real fast, which is just real quick. Trelly, then Dave.
Yep.
Favorite set you watched today, one you're most excited for tomorrow?
Oh, man.
I can tell you my favorite was the Tartarus Titans because I did a lot of constructive criticism towards the Titans about, hey, it's going to be a one-sided matchup unless they make this change. And I think they made every single one of those changes. I'm not saying that they listened to me. I think they just also knew.
What you're saying is that you're coming for Slaney's job.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But in reality, I think they also recognized their weaknesses during those play-ins and they corrected them in record fashion. Like how quickly they made that turnaround is a little bit absurd and kind of scary for the upcoming matchups. So that was definitely my favorite. Love seeing the complete 180 from Cyno, going from the facilitator-style supporty jungler to, you mind if I get all the kills and just like try to hard carry? That's the kind of jungler, as Hurry said on the desk, that we remember from like Splice Worlds years ago, and that's the kind of jungler the Tartarus Titans need right now.
Gore, I'm a sucker for the fans.
Yeah.
And you and I casted J Dragon's Oni Warriors.
It's okay. You can just say that you liked casting with me more than everybody else.
Totally true. Okay. You're right. I'm glad you filled in those blanks.
You didn't cast with me today, though.
We're casting tomorrow. We're gonna have some fun tomorrow. I was talking. Actually, I met a bunch of fans outside, and they. I was talking to them about that dragon set, and I was like, my job was actually made so easy because in a moment where Pagon's piling up kills, quadra kill for Pagon, crowd is going bananas, losing its mind.
Yeah.
I've never had less to do in a job. All I had to do was scream Pagon, and the crowd took care of the rest. So I'm a bit biased because I got to cast it.
Yeah.
I think Dragons, Oni Warriors, especially 40-minute game 2, my favorite set today. Man, tomorrow we've got some really good
stacked sets.
I think Kings Bolts, if the Bolts continue to play the way that they did today, and the Kings are as decisive as we saw them today, that one could be an all-timer in the semifinals.
The Bolts definitely spent some time in the hyperbolic time chamber, and it worked out well for them. But of course, you at home, you've been watching, you've been enjoying it, and we've seen you here on the internet, of course. The Worlds with Fans, # Worlds with Fans.
I'm taller than Myth.
If you tweet at us, you can throw it. Taller than Myth,
That's
definitely
right.
sure.
Confirmed.
And as you can see, a lot of people who've been hanging out, whether you're in the venue and you want to tweet at us, or if you happen to be watching at home, it's all going to be worthwhile. Hitting up Minikyu as well, a really, really good pickup. Even though he wasn't able to make it here, it's nice to see him supporting his brothers now in the semifinals. And of course, catch the players. They're all going to be walking around. And make sure you get pictures with them. This is also biased, but like with us, if you see us walking around, as long as we always feel bad when we have somewhere to be, but sometimes we have to go. Otherwise, we are more than happy to stop, say hi, take a picture, and see what things are. Especially when you're filling out the stadium like this, it all looks fantastic. So again, tweet at us, # Worlds with Fans. And you can get featured on the broadcast. That one's even better. That's a behind-the-scenes one. Coming from Jim.
The long lane at Worlds.
The long lane. Everybody's really excited.
Guys,
that's me holding Mike.
That's you holding Mike. I met these guys today. Great squad. Yeah, you can see in the profile picture there the same group that painted up
with the PBM.
With PBM and Twig in the past. They're now here rocking.
We have a literal banner of these guys
in the studio. I wonder if they realize that.
They know.
They asked to be on the. They said, "Can you get a new banner for this one?" So
they also said if we ever redecorate, to give them that.
I got a picture with Sleeping Mifflin as well.
Was he actually asleep?
Yeah,
was this a bit?
It was a bit.
No, that looks asleep.
I know.
I'm gonna call him out.
It depends if he was snoring or not, because Myth, low key, secret snorer. I'm gonna let you guys know that. So if he's snoring, then I think a decent shot that he was actually asleep. And amazing. I loved meeting everyone today.
Yeah.
I hope that I was able to cycle back and meet those that I couldn't earlier on. Because, as you said, Gore, we're kind of bouncing back and forth. Some of the craziest energy I've ever experienced. And this was day one. This was day one with a bunch of 2-0s. I can only imagine.
Like a best of five.
Best of five, semifinals, tomorrow, finals. It's going to be amazing.
A lot. Honestly, I almost forgot that this set happened today. If I was going to be real
Oh
with
my
you.
God. That was our second set?
It was
so
long
ago.
Again, a lot of amazing plays that these teams were able to bring in. Trelly, I think you could say to a certain extent, Bolts favored in being an SPL team, but still maybe a little bit of an upset, considering how highly Hex Mambo has been talked about, making their way forward. You get a quadra kill on day number 1. You have to be excited about that one. And then, of course, when you look at not just Kings and Ravens, but I think even here at the end, the Leviathans and the Titans. Surprises, Trelly, is what I saw today.
Yeah, no doubt. I definitely think Mambo versus Bolts, some would see as an upset, myself included. I definitely had them favored going into this one, but much like the Titans, the Bolts brought a not completely new, because we've seen some of those picks before, but I would say the entirety of their draft, a completely new brand of SMITE. I think Baskin looked electric.
Amazing.
And,
Baskin looked amazing.
Ven was completely on point. You could tell he was dialed in. He wasn't missing any of those Centaur shots. A lot of new gameplay mechanics as well as picks they played previously meshed very well together.
Yeah.
So I guess it was just a lot of upgrading in the off time leading up this event.
I think it was some of the cleanest SMITE we've seen the Bolts play. To your point there, Trelly, where it's a brand of SMITE we have seen this team play in the past, but this is the best we have seen them play that brand of SMITE. Heck of a time to start peaking. The Olympus Bolts look unbelievable today. And I'm not going to totally rephrase a sentiment that I had, but we did an SWC waiting room after group stages last weekend.
Right.
And I said, the Camelot Kings, I think they have the easiest path to finals. I thought that their side of the bracket was the easiest side of the bracket. That's right, we got Titans fans in the back here. They're on the other side of the bracket, though. They might find their way there. I think I still stand by it. However, it got a whole lot harder if the Olympus Bolts run back what we saw today. If it's a redo of what we saw today, that one could go all 5, and I can't tell you who's going to win it.
Well, I'm starting to feel
you
like
think
people
Titans fans are happy?
Rushing. I mean, to the point
Are
where
there Titans fans?
I'm anticipating.
Where are they at?
This feels
I
like
heard
they've
them
already
during
made
the
it to
game.
the finals.
Are you guys happy the Titans won? Yeah, we're feeling good about it. Did you expect the Thanatos? I don't know if any of them expected it.
If Hurry, look, I'm going to say, if Hurry didn't expect it, nobody expected it. All right? I think it falls. That's where I draw the line. Hurry has been predicting a lot of them. I feel like we're supposed to talk about Levi's and Titans after that one, but realistically, we've covered a lot of these sets. I think really looking at the entirety, the big picture here, the schedule that we're going to be looking at for what happened today, but specifically what we're getting into tomorrow is what I'm most excited. They're going to start things off if you're looking at Eastern. If you happen to be here in the venue, you want to look at the left side of the timer. The right side of the timer is going to be a lot more standard to what you're used to when you're watching our streams. Going to have the red carpet. Make sure you start tuning in around 10:45 Eastern, 9:45 here in the Central Time Zone. DKO Creator Cup right after that. A pre-match show. That'll be me and some other people probably hanging around and talking some SMITE.
You know that you're on it. That's all that matters.
I know where I'm supposed to be most of the time.
Right.
And I can follow through on that. Then we're going to have semifinal number 1. That will be the Kings taking on the Bolts.
Goodness.
The cosplay contest is a nice little break
tomorrow.
between the two.
Great.
And then jumping immediately in to semifinal number 2. Again, one that I didn't know I was going to be saying this. The Dragons taking on the Titans for the chance to move on to Sunday and go to the grand finals. We'll close things out after that second semifinal. Remember, from this point on, it's all best of 5s. When we jump into Sunday, red carpet, we'll have the Build a God. We're going to have the 3rd annual Golden Bolts, as well as a Year 10 first look, where we get a lot more of an in-depth view on some of the things we actually saw earlier today if you happen to watch the keynote. So a lot of special things still happening throughout the weekend. A lot of exciting SMITE to still be played, Trelly. And I don't even know where to go from here. It just feels like there's so much that's still on the plate, and I'm already satiated a little bit.
I know.
I'll give you a closing thought, and it's truer now than it ever has been before. And this is something Hurry Win said, and it resonated.
He's
with
a
me.
smart man, so anything
he
you can echo is a good start.
You don't have to be the best team in the world all the time. You have to be the best team in the world one weekend.
One weekend.
One weekend.
There are 4 teams now that are all gunning for that position, and I have no idea who's the best team in the world right now.
I think you can't throw all of Season 9 out the window at Worlds, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to analyzing games and analyzing how teams play, you know, we do a lot of like, well, in the past, this has caused this team issues. But ultimately, we say, but on day one, this is how they looked and this is how they did.
Yep.
To your point there, Trelly, if the 4 teams we have, all 4 of them 2-0 their opponents today.
Yep.
All 4 of them looked very convincing. Some game 2s, you know, a bit close. It could be. I hope. I mean, this is, I don't know if this is real or
This is
fake.
wood. I checked it.
One of the best semifinal days we've maybe ever had. The Titans, you know, because if you're putting Titans against Dragons weeks ago, we're thinking Dragons easy, right?
Yeah.
After what we just saw from the Titans, I couldn't tell you. Same thing with Bolts and Kings. Weeks ago, Kings, easy. Even the group stage show when we were talking about it,
Yep.
easy. Or you know, 4 games maybe. I couldn't tell you. Both underdog teams going into these semifinals looked amazing today.
It is, again, you know, you talk about it being, you just have to be good one week, and it's like any given Sunday. But for SMITE, right, you just have to show up.
Right.
All of the teams, a year amount of effort that they poured into competition through Phase 1, Phase 2, the Spring Masters, Summer Masters, Phase 3 leading into the playoffs now to get here, whether it was through group stages, whether it was through, for some of these guys, the EU or NASCC championship, now to only have 4 teams left.
Nuts.
16 players, their coaches, coming out onto this stage. There's a lot of pressure on them. And tomorrow we're going only down to 2, so you're going to want to make sure you tune in. But from myself, from Charlie, from Dave, everyone here in the venue, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Feeling okay, then you hit my phone. Saying, babe, wanna meet up. I'm in the club, but I'm done now. Can I come up? Saying, of course, you can come by. I don't know why, but you're sunshine. Oh, you're alright. Oh, you're alright. I'm gonna shut my mouth when you say what's on your mind. I can see the pain in your eyes. First I'm left, then I'm right. Don't know how to keep my calm. Baby, don't you tell your lies. Let me say thank you for all this time, babe. I've been loving every time I could call you mine. I don't know why I'm being the one feeling stupid. I'm feeling stupid now. So now it's time for the goodbyes. Everything dies while the sunrise. Oh, you're light. It's time for the goodbyes. Everything dies while the sunrise. Oh, you're light. Oh, you're light. I'm gonna shut my mouth when you say what's on your mind. I can see the pain in your eyes. First I'm left, then I'm right. Don't know how to keep my calm. Baby, don't you tell your lies. It's time for the goodbyes. Everything dies while the sunrise. Oh, you're lying. Oh, you're